The time of the year where truth, justice, and big sills always reign supreme. But as always, the signature part of the show, Big Sills. How you doing? All right. 40 days. 40 days until training camp. How you feeling? 40 days. You're right here, man. 87 days until September 6th in Brazil versus the Green Bay Packers. You ready? Are you? All right. We shall see. By the way, I got to tell you, and I got to start this off. You know, usually Big Sills is not coming out slashing away. Let me take that back. Yes, I am. I come out of the gate slashing away. So I wake up in the morning and I tune on WIP and I hear one of their hosts. What was the words? I'm feeling so sorry for Nick Sirianni that he's now the Philadelphia Eagles whipping boy. Oh my God. I could give a shit how he feels. He makes $6 million. He's the head football coach of an NFL football team. Who cares how he feels? Even John Ritchie. I feel bad for the coach. No, you don't. No, you don't. And why should you? Dude, it is sports. There's no fucking bell curve. Stop with that. My God. People today in our society have too much empathy for people in positions like that. I don't give a shit if a baseball manager or a coach or whomever gets canned from their job for not performing. You know, there used to be a time in this country when that was a thing that you were gauged on, success and failure. We reward mediocrity today. We reward being average. Pats on the back. All that shit. It's sad. I mean, you got two hosts on the flagship station of the propaganda machine known as WIP, wondering if the coach is feeling okay today. And boy, I'm starting to feel a little sorry for him because he's now officially the whipping boy for us. I mean, that's right, dude. Ultimate Cowboy for $6 million. You could defecate on me. I don't care. I'm easily bought. You're out of your mind. That's part of the gig. Feeling sorry for players who are making $25 to $50 million. Also, I don't have any empathy for you. Dude, this is scoreboard. This is absolute scoreboard. All right. You know, I had people on my Twitter page or my X page at Dan Sileo Show. I implore you to follow us there. You get updated and plus some other stuff that we start barking out each and every single day that I'm sure Xander doesn't want you to see is over there. And I got the message that Haason Reddick is not at training camp and mandatory minicamp. Actually, Aaron Rodgers is not there either, but that's a different story. I had people saying, well, Howie won the trade. How did he win the trade? You don't really believe he won the trade. How has he won, Robert? How has he won the trade? How has he won the trade? He did? Okay. He won the trade. How many people believe he did? Okay, I know you. Here's what has to happen. Haason Reddick has to play 67% of the snaps this year and get 10-plus sacks for the Birds to recover a second-round pick. That's winning the trade. Because if that doesn't happen this year, you don't get a pick for 2 years. How do you know? And what if your boy Huff comes in at 5 sacks? And Reddick goes up there and does deliver 15 sacks. Now, I will concede this. He got noise out of his locker room. He got noise out of his locker room that he did not want to have. There is no doubt that that was a troublesome thing for Vic Fangio and for Howie and probably the owner. How about this? Do you not agree? You think the owner called this and pulled the switch on this? Nick Sirianni doesn't have the backbone, nor does he have the say to make such a drastic move like this. I think the owner kicked his ass out. Well, you know what? Let's just get rid of the noise. And let's get rid of Reddick. Now, you know what it looks like to me? That the Eagles are trying to blame the two coordinators and now Reddick for discord in the locker room. They look for scapegoats. They're notorious at it. Notorious. I mean, Sills picks one topic and just stays yapping. Dude, you can leave at any time. And it's not true. It happened today, fuckbag. He didn't report today. It's not one topic. We're topical. I don't regurgitate shit from back in the day. Whatever, guy. I could care less. This is the same guy who said he was leaving 1 billion times and never left. He was here for 4 hours. Got him. Congratulations. Now you can go pleasure yourself. There's your moment in the sun, son. Okay? Hey, I appreciate it, by the way, Prince. Okay? And I appreciate you keeping count for us. We're trying to get to 200 likes. Thank you guys very much. Yeah. Hey, you got your moments in the sun, and then the rest of it, you could take the rest of the day off as far as I'm concerned. All right. So, Reddick not being at New York Jets camp, mandatory minicamp, there's no doubt about it that right now, Howie's in the lead. I'll give you this. Sam, Mark, there is no doubt Howie's in the lead on this. He's in the lead. James, love James. Thank you for the super chat, James. As a Dallas kid, I think Haason Reddick is equal to Michael Irvin's production versus drama measure. Still, win-loss will be determined on the field. James, dead on. Dead on, dude. Dead on. But I will say this. He's in the lead now, Howie. Because he did one of the most important things you possibly could do. You got distraction out of your locker room. And for a football team that doesn't need to have any drama, that's a good move right now here on June 11th. Make no mistake about it. It's a good move. Good for them. All right. Xander will join us at 3:30, and then the legendary Merrill Reese, voice of the Philadelphia Eagles, will join us at 5:30. How many people have been watching this Laker drama? And I'm going to tie this into the Eagles here in a minute. How many people have been watching what the Lakers just went through with Dan Hurley? What do you make of that? What'd you make of the whole Dan Marley or Hurley situation? What'd you make of all that? of how the Lakers and how that all worked out. Lakers suck. James, by this to beat White House's drama, it was worth the ring of the 90s. So still to be determined. Right. I get it, James. Like, think about that. Okay. Not clear for me here. But hey, Prince, thank you. I don't watch basketball, to be honest, Sills. Just patiently waiting for the NFL. Eduardo, Lakers can't get themselves right. We know, Sills, it's LeBron's fault. No. Well, LeBron has had 9 coaches in his career. This is the new one will be his 10th. He's not the easiest guy to coach. I mean, how many coaches did Jordan have in his prime? 2. Doug Collins and Phil Jackson. Okay? Now, let me say this to you. This Laker job kind of tells me a little bit about this Eagle job. Nick Sirianni's 34-17, like you guys keep constantly telling me. 2-3 in the postseason. Let's go back a little bit. Andy Reid. And this is since 2000. Andy Reid, 130, 93-1. Numerous NFC championship games. I think the organization was a little bit different with Andy in the building and Joe Banner in the building. Was a little bit different. Okay? Right? I mean, Andy had a little bit more autonomy, and that kind of changed after Andy left. All right. Doug was 42-37-1, and he was 4-2 in the playoffs with a Super Bowl championship. Chip himself was 26-21 with an 0-1 record in the postseason. So if you think about it, since Andy Reid in the postseason, Philadelphia Eagles, since Andy Reid in 99, the Philadelphia Eagles are 14-12 in the postseason with the last 3 head football coaches. Actually, they are 16-14 with the last 4 head football coaches that were in Philly since 2000. Not horrible, not great. Conference championship appearances, Super Bowls. Let me ask you this. Is the Philadelphia Eagle job a good job? The head coaching job. You think this is a good job? Scale of 1 to 10. What do you think the Philadelphia Eagle head coaching job is? Do you think this is a good job? If you were an experienced guy like Belichick, would you want a job like this? I'll tell you this, how Laker job is not what it's cracked up to be. You want to hear what the Lakers did? The Lakers offered the same number and the same salary as Kentucky a year ago offered Dan Hurley to take the Kentucky job. They're cheap. Nick Sirianni makes $6 million. That's in the lower end of the NFL head coaches and salaries. It's not a good job. You know why? Your job's never safe. No matter if you win a Super Bowl, no matter if you win, no matter if you have a winning record. Your last 2 coaches, no matter what they did, were on the hot seat because the ownership group and the front office doesn't value head coaches. And you know what? This is not an opinion. This is actions followed. They fired a Super Bowl coach, and they just took away and stripped down every single piece of power that Doug Peterson had. Okay? Arthur goes, no NFL job is safe. Well, that's funny you should say that. Guy in Pittsburgh safe. Just got a 3-year contract extension. And to Xander's point, in the last 10 years, Mike Tomlin's got an under 500 record in the postseason. What's he done? He's missed the playoffs 6 times. That's a pretty safe job in Pittsburgh. That's a pretty safe job in Green Bay. I think Kyle Shanahan's got a pretty safe job. No? I think Todd Bowles has got a pretty good, safe job. I'm not sure what you're talking about here. Robert Saleh has not had a winning season in 2 years. Jets are sticking with his ass. Your guy's been to the playoffs 3 years in a row, has been to a Super Bowl, has won an NFC title, and he almost was fired. Can you imagine if Robert Saleh was bringing that record in New York? Think about that. Johnny Mack said, you're wrong, so who's right about the power? I disagree. Dude, you don't really have to sit there and fucking come up with who has power in the building there. Nick has no power whatsoever. There's not a human being on the planet who doesn't own a key fob that doesn't know that. I know this business too. I get it. It's okay. I'd say it too. But see, one thing about some of the people that cover the Eagles, that key fob's not your lifeline. Shouldn't define you. Where your feet stand, where your paycheck gets direct deposited to you is where you stand. Not your key fob. I mean, I think a lot of people in that market value that key fob more than their integrity and how they cover the team and don't want to answer questions correctly. That's what's been lost with Philly media now. Used to be different. They didn't give a shit in the past. But now, because the organizations have more say, no matter what the team is, they'll do whatever. Now, I get it. Job security, you want to work Monday, all good. All good. The Philadelphia Eagle job is not a good job. It's just not. Because there's no job security. How about this? If Nick Sirianni gets fired having 11 wins at the end of the year, you think he gets a job as a head coach? Well, if you were the owner, go. So let's just say this. Say he ends up, let's just go 11 wins. Let's be safe here. Regular season, he's 34-17. And we all know this sitting here. If he goes 11-6, he's getting fired if he gets bounced in the opening round, right? Okay. That'll be 45-23. And that would be 2-4 in the postseason. You think he gets another job coaching in the NFL? Wouldn't you say this? Guy's been in the playoffs 4 years in a row. Why'd he get fired? Dude, it's one thing to go like this. Doug Peterson had a 4-win season at the end of the year. The organization deteriorated in front of everybody's eyes, like it did for Andy. It deteriorated under Andy, too. And both had 4-win seasons at the end of the year. And you're sitting there and you're going like this. Well, okay. Because the organization allowed the roster to deteriorate. John McMullen said something this morning on the program that's important. These coaches are completely slaves to the roster Howie builds. It's about good players. It's not about great coaching. If you've got a great coach in the building, get this. You can make somebody like Doug Peterson look shitty. You can make someone like him look shitty. You can make someone like Andy Reid look shitty. And if you got great players in the building, you can make someone as bad as Nick Sirianni look good. Xander said it yesterday. Hey, the guy's got a good record. I don't think that, just like your foot, I think exactly. Nick Sirianni he embodies the 2023 season. You remember when you guys were barking 10-1? Remember? You guys are trying to tell me you're a good team? 34-17. I'm trying to tell you he's not a good coach. Don't get fooled by it. Because that guy is not who that record is. I told you this all last season when you were 10-1, 10-2. You weren't that team. You turned out not to be that team. He's not that guy. Then you turn around and you go, well, wait a minute. Well, was he a good coach in 22? He was out of the way of Steichen. He didn't have any say over that. And plus, Shane Steichen knew how to manage him. You know, remember what Shane Steichen said? Hey, Nick, maybe you should step away from the play calling. You know, Xander said something else on Birds 365, which I implore you to watch. You know what he said? Well, Nick's now more in that CEO role. He wasn't hired for that. What could he possibly know about being a CEO coach like Mike Tomlin and like John Harbaugh? What could he wasn't hired for that skill set. You didn't hire him. Just like Jalen Hurts, you're trying to change Nick Sirianni's job description. You're doing that too. You know why? Because the organization doesn't value the head coach in Philly. A CEO head coach? No, dude. You were hired as a play calling head coach, and you failed and had that stripped from you. We should have known in 21 that he wasn't the guy. Because then you asked him to do something. It's like asking Kellen Moore to coach a RPO quarterback and turn him into a drop back quarterback. Guys say it won't resemble what the Dallas offense looks like. So he's going to do what? Create a brand new passing offense for Jalen? Something he's never executed in a game? Are you fucking crazy? This is pro football. This is not Vanderbilt University or Temple. So am I right to hear this? Because I heard the guys talking about this. You're telling me Kellen Moore is going to develop a brand new offense, which Jalen said 95% of it was new. The head coach is going to have no say in it, and he's never executed this offense with that skill set of a quarterback. Is that correct? What makes you think that's going to work when it's never been put in play? What gives you that knowledge? He's building an offense because I heard John and Xander say this morning. Well, it's not going to be the Dak Prescott offense. Well, it won't be the Justin Herbert offense. It's going to be the Jalen Hurts offense. Okay, what's that? What exactly is that? They're not going to go back to 22. Are you going to mimic a little bit of 23? What are we talking about here? And here's the beautiful part of it. Kellen Moore's never executed the offense that he's going to run with Jalen Hurts in his entire coaching career. But you think a brand new offense that is being built exclusively for Hurts, who he's never called one play for, is automatically going to work. Because if it's not Dak's offense and it's not Herbert's offense, it's brand new. He's never had a play call in his entire life to this brand new offense. Okay. And the head coach is nowhere to be seen. It's called innovation. He's been fired for his last two jobs for being not innovative. That's an OC's job? Well, I'll tell you one thing. When Todd Monken went in to Baltimore this past season, they didn't stop him from running Lamar Jackson. They came up with more creative ways of getting the wide receivers open in almost in the same offense he ran in the year that he won the MVP earlier. They modified it. This is a change. This is a change. Okay? More actually spread it around more than Johnson. Where? Dallas? And you're talking Dallas, right? Monken tried, then reverted back to Romans. That was in the playoffs, and that was the mistake, JM, they made. I learned Brian Johnson's offense when I played in the fourth grade. Well, a fourth grade offense got a wide receiver $33 million a year. Johnson was clueless. Again, they scored 28 points a game, had the 8th ranked offense in the National Football League. I sure hope Kellen Moore has a better off. Hey, that's a great point. How many points did the Eagles score last year? 26 points a game? They were 8th in offense? You do think they'll be ranked better than that, right? You do think they'll be ranked better than Brian Johnson's. And again, where's Nick in this whole conversation? What an absolutely shitty job it is to be the head coach of the Eagles. Because no matter what you do, no matter how many wins you do, and here's the even more sickening thing. The more winning you do, the more credit the front office takes. The more losing you do, the more you take. And that's your job title. I've figured it out. If you want to be the head football coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, you've got to surrender success and you've got to accept failure as yours. You do not get credit for wins in that building at all. Because it doesn't matter. If you're Doug, Nick, you're both going to be held accountable if they don't like what they're looking at. Do you get that? Nick Sirianni potentially could be fired for optics. Because on-field success, if you were sitting in Detroit and you looked at Nick Sirianni's success, wouldn't you go, wow, what a damn good coach? But if you hang around with us and you watch the organization almost fired a guy and hire Belichick, you would know that that's not the truth. Okay? With Hurts throwing 30-plus times a game, can't be in that room. Between 25 and 28, they win. How did Johnson have a tight end and wide receiver get drafted in the first round while Kyle Trash as the quarterback? Souls, what are your projections for the offense under Kellen Moore? I think they struggle a lot early. I do. And I think here's what Corey, you know what I think is going to happen? I think they're going to struggle mightily before the bye, and they're going to have to go back to 22, and then they'll win big. That's my take. They're going to try to do what Bruce Arians did to Tom Brady by putting up big numbers with Godwin and with Mike Evans and with Gronk, and they thought they were going to put up gargantuan numbers. They actually put up bigger numbers in Brady's last season than they did in the year he won the Super Bowl. Okay? Absolutely. Okay? I mean, they're going to go back to that. That offense, with the talent that they have on this team now, if they were to keep evolving that 22 quarterback, I don't know, man. It would be undefensible. The guy you had a year ago is common. It's common. The stupid work the new staff in as the season goes on, I would start with what these guys know. Yeah, well, they're creating a brand new offense for him. Dak was averaging 35-plus passing attempts a game under Moore. JM, Dak's a better passer. That won't work for Hurts. Correct. Can't throw the ball 35 times. Absolute, no question about it. I think simple-minded spammers are from the Eagles organization. That's probably a media guy. Don't sweat it, Mike. Media guys are always over here telling you they're going to leave and they don't. And then they get ghost accounts and come back in. It's okay. Hurts was barely over 50% when he had that volume under Doug. I just think, again, this is going to take some time because they're creating an offense for him. Look at Keenan Allen's route tree. Keenan Allen, outstanding football player, and I think he's going to bring a lot. And hopefully, I would say that Chicago gets an opportunity to redo a deal for him because I like him a lot. Heck of a football player. Okay, so as we always do, and now you're seeing a lot of people taking a little bit of what we do here. I had a great conversation with somebody in the Eagle organization. And by the way, don't forget Merrill Reese will join us at 5:30. And we always do this, right, Xander? Thumbs up, thumbs down, stock up or down. I see a lot of people doing that now because they take that from what we've been doing here for over 3 years. And this is something that we've been doing when it comes to either OTAs, training camp, or mandatory minicamp. In this offseason, I wrote down the big sills, players who I think their stock has gone up, their value has gone up, and with some players, their value has gone down. And as we get ready, what are we again? Like I said, we are 40 days out to the start of training camp. I wrote down some of these names here, and these are the guys. Who do you think was what name have you heard the most this offseason for your Eagles? What guy do you think has shined the most? Okay? What guy? What guy? Ringo. Saquon. I haven't heard too much of Saquon. Keely. All right. Let's do first. You guys want to do the stock up or stock down for this offseason as you are now ready to go to training camp? There's no more work to do except for individual. Big Dom. Stock down. Okay. Stock down? Let's do stock down then. Number one, there's no doubt the number one guy whose stock is down has to be James Bradberry. The amount of money you make, the salary he's making, falling out of favor with the organization. Now, there's only one saving grace to this. He's still on the roster. And he's going to training camp. So, he's still there. He's still in the building. Tells me that, you know what? They're still debating on what to do with James Bradberry. And by the way, this has got nothing to do with trading him. Nothing to do with trading him. You're not going to play him a couple plays in pajamas at safety and go, oh yeah, guess what? We're going to get a 6th-round pick. That's not going to work. Nobody in a million years, nobody looks at him and goes, yeah, hey, that's going to increase his volume or his value. Nobody. Okay? Number two, there is no question the Kobe Dean stock has plummeted even more so. No matter what they're telling you over there. Isn't it crazy? Guy who's never played, a guy who plays, and when he does play, he's terrible. He's got false steps. He's not good. He's always hurt, and yet they refuse to budge off of giving him an opportunity at starting. That's a front office decision. They are hell-bent on this. And to their demise, which will be him not being ready to play again. You know what's really sad about this? He may be a good ball player. And he just might not be NFL, physicality-wise able to play. That happens. He just may not be able to handle the stress of playing in the league. I mean, but they're hell-bent. I hear John McMullen telling Xander, yeah, they're not out of that yet. They think he's the guy. I just don't think they're sticking their head in the sand in this. And they're going to die on the stake with him. Too bad. I said this yesterday. I think a guy's stock that has absolutely plummeted since the end of the regular season has been Josh Sweat. For whatever reason, it has fallen out of favor with the organization. They've tried trading him. They redid his deal to a point where now he makes it so that they can trade him going into the trading deadline, or they can actually move off of him by redoing that deal to lower the number at the beginning of the salary and at the beginning of the contract. They've made it friendlier for them to get off him. And I don't know why, because I think he's still arguably their most complete ball player on their defensive line. You know, Jalen Carter still has to show it. Josh Sweat played 900 plus snaps last year. That's a ton. That's a ton of absolute volume of plays. But they seemingly have lost favor when it comes to Josh Sweat. I got Kenny Gainwell on here. This happens all the time. I'll give you a greatest example of this and what happened. When the Raiders got Bo Jackson and they had still Marcus Allen on the team. Remember what happened? Some of you are maybe too young, but what happened was as soon as they got the brand new toy and Al Davis got the brand new toy and Bo Jackson, they relegated or delegated Marcus Allen to second and third team. And they barely used him. That's why they traded his ass to Kansas City. At the end, they ended up trading him. Marcus didn't want to do anything to do with the Raiders because the Raiders had mistreated him. Guy was a former MVP in a Super Bowl for him, helped deliver a title. And the way he was treated because they brought in Bo, that stuff brought discord. Okay, well, now you got Kenny Gainwell in the building. Kenny Gainwell was a guy that they featured in many games last year. You look at that dynamic there, and there's no doubt his value has gone down just in the fact of he's not going to be part of the game plan this coming season. This is all going to be on Saquon Barkley. There may come to a point, though, if Barkley's injured, that guy becomes a major force and hopefully them winning some ball games. But got Kenny Gainwell on here. I got Jalen Hurts on here. I don't know how you don't look at this and go, okay, is he a good ball player? Yes. What's he struggling with? He's struggling with the dynamics of playing the position of quarterback. Remember what Emmanuel Acho said? You're not going to lose games because of Jalen Hurts' talent. You're going to lose games because he's not a good quarterback. And I think he's still got a long way to go on being a good quarterback. Like, look, you can say whatever you want about Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is a good quarterback. Spreads the ball around. They win games. They go to title games. He's been to 2 championship games in a row. That's what the Eagles want Jalen Hurts to do. Tight ends, running backs, receivers, all of them. Wants to be able to spread the ball around. Jalen can't. And he hasn't shown that yet. He just hasn't shown the ability to spread the ball around. And so to me, until he gets that dynamic and understands that dynamic, he's still going to be in a position here where if you're the organization, you have to do this. Will he get better? Will he get better? Hurts already had a great season. Just move on. Hurts has had 1 season in 3 years. Rest of them are not good. They're just decent. I wouldn't pay a guy off of 1 year, would you? Would you? Oh, wait, you did. Hurts is not good at anything deep ball, anything. Hurts deep balls are either underthrown or overthrown. And star receivers make them look good. Okay? That's why his numbers are never good. So I would say that Acho's right. He's still got a long way to go. And now when you're watching him in just pajamas, not being able to pick up the offense yet, they're working on stuff. Okay. You're working on stuff on June 11th, 50 days out to training camp. 40 days out to training camp. I don't know. What do you think Kansas City Chiefs are working on? Screens, tight end passes, routes, maybe a couple new plays that Andy drew up. You think they're doing anything different? And they got no receivers to speak of. They got the kid Pacheco's good, but they really don't have anything. There's more work to be done in Kansas City than in Philly. Why? You got the more talented players in Philly. Don't you think there's more work to be done in Kansas City? Can you, Rashid Rice? Rashid Rice would be the fourth wide receiver in Philly. There's more work to do in KC. They're not overhauling anything. Don't you think? So coaching matters, right? Okay. They got a system that they have in place there, right? They're not drastically changing anything, even though there's no real A+ or really even B+ wideouts. Is Hollywood Brown there even? Is Hollywood Brown in Kansas City? I mean, I don't know who they have there. Purdy lost the Super Bowl. Stop bringing dude up. I'm talking about him as a player that gets the football to everyone's hands. I'm not talking about losing the Super Bowl. I'm talking about a guy who knows how to get the football to everybody. Spreads it around. Tight ends, third wide receiver, Debo, Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, all them guys. Your guy doesn't do that. KC has Worthy, Hollywood, and Rice. That's not awful, CJ. That's not awful. It's not. By the way, too, Jason, I would say this about Brock Purdy. One of the most overachieving football players in the history of the National Football League. With zero expectations on him. He finished second in the MVP voting last year. And been to 2 conference titles. $4,000, 30 TDs. Led the NFL in completion percentage. I mean, you talk about overachieving. It's incredible. One of the greatest overachievers. And he did something Romo didn't do. Get to a Super Bowl. It's incredible. Cal gets the football into players' hands. Jalen gets told to throw it to A.J. Brown or PI calls. Senor, that's part of what I hope the offense is going to look like this year, is that Hurts is going to actually start having to read a passing tree where he's going to have to do some reads. Shane Steichen didn't have him read because RPO doesn't design that. Okay? They don't design that. I got Nolan Smith on my stock up or down, guys, coming out of the offseason here. He didn't practice a lot. They didn't have him in reps a lot. And for a guy that needs a ton of reps and a ton of work, they didn't work him. Find that troubling? Get this. Bryce Huff, I'm playing. 18.5 million reasons why I have to play him. He's playing. Okay? He's playing. Nolan Smith needs all the work he can get. Needs some weight room work. All of that. I mean, and they're not working him. And you go, well, it's helmets and shorts yet. That's the point. Everyone's supposed to look, everyone on defense almost has looked good except him. They're not even giving him reps or work. Okay? Crazy. This is going to be crazy. Xander Krauss gave me this idea. You think Slay stock's down? You think Darius Slay's stock is down? I feel that Tanner McKee is better passer? Probably. That doesn't mean he can win games like Jalen can now. How many people believe Slay stock's down at 33 years old? On all the players that they've drafted in the defensive back class the last 2 years. You think his stock's down? Little bit. I do. Slay's cooked. Slay, glad we got young corners behind him at least. I think that's the point too, Matt, I'm trying to make here. Let's see here. Yes, I would trade him. Let's see here. Slay's embracing his role as a mentor for the kids. That has value. To the tune of $11 million. To the tune of $11 million. Third round pick, he's gone. Let's see here. He will struggle to make the team. Only reason he's here is because the unreasonable to win a Super Bowl with so many rookie DBs. Let's see. Should be. He hasn't been good enough since that pass rush of 72 of 22, excuse me, made that whole secondary look better than they actually were. Agreed. Slay will retire after next season. I think Darius Slay's stock is down big time. I don't think they look at him in the same light. You know, I thought, and I said this to Xander, by the way, will join us at 3:30. And I said this, would they trade him now, or would they move off of him, or would they even cut him now and move off of him? I highly doubt that, because hey, could this possibly be the reason Bradberry's on is because they're not sure if they're going to cut Slay or trade Slay? Maybe it's Slay they're trying to trade. And they would keep Bradberry because he's younger. He's 30. Maybe it's Slay that's on the block. At 33, are you going to let him walk out the building? Okay. Do you think you can get something for Darius Slay right now? What do you think you can get for him? 5th? I'd trade you a 5th-round pick for him right now. A couple Pro Bowls. Been a Pro Bowler ever since he's been in the building. If you're feeling that comfortable about yourselves, I didn't think about it, Xander, until you started and I started putting it together here. I mean, maybe they're keeping Bradberry on the team because they're dealing Slay. I think you get a 5th-rounder for him. You couldn't get anything for Bradberry, but you could get something for Slay. And he's 33. And you're going to be asking him to play the same kind of coverage that you asked Bradberry to play in 22, where he was a second-team All-Pro guy. Eduardo doesn't think right now a guy who's made the Pro Bowl the last 3 years, his stock would be high, and didn't have that poor of a grade when it came to the Pro Football Focus, folks. He doesn't think that you can – wait, are you under the impression that you can get more for Bradberry? So Slay has rope around your neck. Slay, we need experience in the building cells. Agreed. And I think that's why Bradberry's still in the building. No way you can do a pick swap with Bradberry, a 6 for a 5, and see him. You'll get that for Darius Slay. You would get that for Darius Slay. Judon comes here first. And Judon comes here. That is called a move. Judon's going to cost you money. You know what he's projected to make this year in New England? Judon's salary this coming season is going to be $6.5 million. Slay's value is higher at the deadline after injuries happen to other teams. True. Let's see. Slay isn't getting traded, not unless they lose a bunch and move him at the trade deadline. So you think it's more trade deadline. That's kind of where I'm at too. Calais Campbell is out there and free. I know that. I got it. Sills, do you think would be better mentor, leader, Slay or Bradberry? I think both would be great. I mean, picking one or the other, I'll pick the younger guy. I'll take the younger guy. Okay? I would take the younger guy. So here are my guys. I get Kenny Gainwell, Nakobe Dean, James Bradberry, Josh Sweat, a little bit of Hurts, Nolan Smith, and Darius Slay that I think this offseason their stocks are down. Now here's stock up this offseason. No doubt. Keely Ringo, his stock is just skyrocketed. It is absolutely skyrocketed. Just absolutely killing it. There are so many people now so high on him and think so much of him. And they're trying to figure out what to do with him. That is such a great place to be when you're a player, especially coming off the year he did a year ago. Here's Prince. Sills, the cost of Judon is 6.5, and that's a lot of money. Hey, Prince, that's 6.5 what he's making this year. If you trade for a guy like that, you got to trade for a guy like that, and you've got to give him $18, $19 million or $20 million. He's just not going to make a trade for that. That's not going to happen. I mean, the reason he's showing up to minicamp too, by the way. Judon is getting a raise this offseason. Well, New England hasn't moved on that yet. They haven't moved on that. Well, that Hendrickson guy, JM, is going to cost you $20 million. Are the Eagles going to spend that kind of money? I don't know that. Keely Ringo, stock has gone through the roof. Okay? Has just absolutely gone through the roof. Number 2, I got Isaiah Rodgers. You know, I didn't know what to expect, and Frank Reich told me a little bit about him when he was in Indianapolis and what people were saying about him in Indianapolis. And I wanted to see it. I'm one of those let me see it kind of guys. And supposedly he's running around out there and he looks like he fits. Now, obviously, here's the thing, though. You got to remember something about pajamas today. Well, you could play in pajamas in any regular season NFL game in today's league because these guys can't hit receivers. They barely have contact. They're called constantly for PI. We're not talking defenseless receivers. How much really more do you need to have when we're talking about contact drills? You're under the impression the NFL is a contact league anymore. It's not, especially with those diva receivers. You can't hit those guys coming across the middle anymore. So if a guy's running 7-on-7 or they're running 9-on-7, what's the difference between 9-on-7 and 7-on-7 than a regular season football game? A little more pushing? Okay, fair enough. There's a run game element that's part of it. Sure, no question. But when it comes to strictly covering people, there's not any difference in the dynamic of that. Shit, the Detroit Lions just got penalized and had to cost them a day on minicamp, mandatory minicamp, because they were being too physical in 7-on-7. I mean, and the Eagles were doing the same thing at camp. So Isaiah Rodgers has shown himself. Marina goes like this. And here's prime example of not understanding. Marina goes, why would we trade our best cornerback? Well, your best cornerback resulted in the 31st worst pass defense in pro football, and he makes $11 million. Why would I pay a 33-year-old guy $11 million who finished 31st a year ago when I could play the young guys I drafted and start the process of developing my younger players. What? That's why you do it. Why am I paying you? Rodgers is our best corner? Could be. I think he's going to start on the other side of somebody. I think he's going to start. I do. I think he's going to start. Slay got torched last season. Do these people even watch the games? You know, you're starting to think Bradberry's on the team for one reason. Could it possibly be because they really are thinking about moving off of Slay? Dump the excessive cornerbacks and pay for a star defensive end to take the pressure off our secondary. That's another great way of looking at it. I like that. By the way, please hit the like button. Thank you, guys. I think Rodgers could be the trade chip value. I'm not getting rid of Isaiah Rodgers. He could become too instrumental in what I want to do. I could play him in nickel and I could play him at the corner. I'm not taking that versatility off my secondary. Plus, he's got some experience. No way. I need all the experience I can get, especially if you move off of either Bradberry or Slay or both. Or both. Zach Bond has made a statement. I personally don't think that Kobe Dean is going to start. However, Zach Bond has no playing experience. Very little. He has no playing experience. So, I mean, a little bit, right? He's got a little bit. And in the time he's been in the league, he's not shown anything. Is that a plan? You know, we're talking pajamas here. He's not played a lot. You know, he did play for Dennis Allen in New Orleans. Dennis Allen's a heck of a defensive coach. He moved off him. I don't know. I mean, who is he? He looked good in camp because the offense, hey, how about this? Could it possibly be that the offensive struggles picking up the new game plan made the defense look so good that it overrated them? Yeah. Jalen and everybody are saying, hey, we're not on the same page on offense. Well, maybe everybody over on defense is overhyped right now. You got to be careful here with this. You got to be careful. Everyone could be overhyped here now because the offense didn't hit and sink. Wow, this guy looked great. Well, they were running into one another when they were running crossing routes. Sills, I'd pay a $1 million cornerback who plays at a $5.5 million level over an $11 million cornerback who plays at a $5.5 million level. Now you're talking NFL. That's exactly how the NFL looks at things. The day you sign those gigantic numbers, the writing is on the wall. The writing is on the wall for you to be replaced if they can with someone cheaper and get the same value when it comes to production. That's how you keep a balanced salary cap. Absolutely. The key, get this, that's why that Devontae Smith for the Eagles themselves, it's a steal of a deal. It's an absolute steal of a deal. You're not paying top-end money for a top-end receiver. Get this, Devontae Smith will never in a million years be an overvalued player. Look at how many overvalued players you have on your team right now. Dallas Goedert's overvalued. Your both corners are overvalued. Yet to be determined on Bryce Huff if he's overvalued. At 18.5, we'll know by the end of the year if he's overvalued. But you don't really have a lot of overvalued guys on that team because you have bargain basement Laker type deals, cheap. Okay? Right? Well, Jalen, yeah, he's overvalued. And again, I'm talking about paychecks here. But those guys, there's no doubt. So, but who is Zach Bond? Who is he? What's he done? Okay. Hey, man, thumbs up. Got to give it to Prince. Got to give it to Prince. Devin White has had a nice run around. Coach likes him. They're high on him. Yeah, I mean, so far so good. It's a good thing. It's a good thing that you're seeing this. Here, stop the 14 million. Hey, watch this. Howie Roseman does the right thing for the team by having a cap-friendly deal. I'll ask you flat out, is Jalen Hurts overpaid at $50 million? If you were writing a paycheck, is he overpaid? Yes or no? The answer is yes. You can talk your cap bullshit. If you're writing a $50 million paycheck, he's overrated. And by the way, once again, he's overpaid. Overpaid. Another guy who is with thumbs up has to be Mekhi Becton. Man, I am so high on this guy. I think this guy has every single bit of Eagle all over him for the future and for the rest of his career potentially. No question about it. No question. I think this guy has the ability to be a Philadelphia Eagle and potentially has this guy replacing Lane Johnson down the line. Justin Herbert is overpaid with Sills' logic. No, because he's a better ball player. He's a better ball player. Here, let's do this. Let's do this. Where is it? Here are the odds as of today for the most valuable player award, the top 10 players in the league. Where would you put Jalen Hurts in this list? According to the people who bet, where would you put him? This isn't my list. This isn't mine. This is the people in the desert, people in Atlantic City. Hurts top 2? Top 3. Okay. Number 10, Jalen Hurts, Philadelphia Eagles, plus 1,800 to win the NFL Most Valuable Player Award. Number 9, Brock Purdy, San Francisco, plus 1,700 to win the NFL's Most Valuable Player Award. Number 8, Jordan Love, Green Bay Packers, plus 1,600 to win the National Football League's Most Valuable Player. Number 6, there's 2 tied. Dak Prescott, Cowboys, plus 1,400. Tied with Justin Herbert, Los Angeles Chargers, at 1,400. Oh, really? Okay. Number 5, the reigning most valuable player, Lamar Jackson, at number 5, is the odds-on favorite to win the Most Valuable Player Award at plus 1,200. Number 4, the kid in Houston, C.J. Stroud, Houston Texans, plus 1,000 to win the National Football League's Most Valuable Player. Number 3, according to the people in the desert and in Atlantic City, Joe Burrow, Bengals, plus 900 to win the NFL's Most Valuable Player. Number 2, Josh Allen, Buffalo Bills, plus 800 to win the NFL's Most Valuable Player award. And number one, obviously, will be Patrick Mahomes at plus 600 to win the National Football League's Most Valuable Player. Once again, nobody in their mind would ever put Hurts above any of those guys. You could even make the argument you could put golf ahead of him. This isn't my list. These are the people who actually put money. This isn't my list. Not my list. Here, can I tell you what else is the reasoning? Some of these guys have great coordinators or Super Bowl champion coordinators. So think about it. As you guys keep telling me that these other guys are better, nobody in the planet thinks it. Not even the people who bet. Think that Jalen Hurts and Kellen Moore are going to connect this year. Only you think this. Okay? Think about that. Just think about it. The people in Vegas right now, 40 days out from training camp, are saying that Hurts is the 10th or 11th best selection if you want to make a bet to be the NFL's MVP. His odds have actually gone down. His odds have gone down since the start of the year in January. His odds have gone down. Even when you added Barkley. Here's another great one. Just to show you about your absolutely ridiculous situation in Philadelphia when it comes to your head football coaches. I mean, here are the top 10 guys who are favored to win the NFL's Coach of the Year award. Number 10, or tied at 9, Mike McDaniel, Miami, plus $2,000. Number 9, Dave Canales, Carolina, plus 2,000. Number 8, these are the people in Vegas. 8, Doug Peterson, Jacksonville Jaguars, 8 plus 1,800. Tied at 4, Shane Steichen, the former OC of your great 2022 failure. Indianapolis, plus 1,400. Robert Saleh, Jets, 1,400. D'Amico Ryans, plus 1,400. Number 3, Raheem Morris, Atlanta Falcons. Number 2, Matt LaFleur, Green Bay Packers, plus 800. Number 1 is Jim Harbaugh. Is Jim Harbaugh. Is Jim Harbaugh. I don't see no legendary Nick Sirianni. Actually, you know what I see on here? 2 former Eagle coaches. And Shane Steichen and Doug Peterson. Thank you very much, James. Agree, $50 million is too much, but can't assess on playoff record alone. Largely because unless quarterback gets to the Super Bowl, record will always be about 50% or lower unless they're wild card to championship round. So have to evaluate on regular season. Well, I'll say this to you about Jalen Hurts then. If you're evaluating him regular season-wise, there's no question he's under what the benchmarks are for quarterbacks in the NFL. The dual threat guy has not won the Super Bowl. And if you're going to be dual threat, you got to be somebody like Allen who throws for 4,500 yards. Rushing for 11 touchdowns. There's no quarterback who's ever won a Super Bowl who rushed for more than 6 touchdowns in a year. That just doesn't work. It doesn't matter. You win Super Bowls from the pocket. So at the end of the day, it truly doesn't matter. Okay? So Josh Allen is the second favorite guy to win the Most Valuable Player award. Your boy Sirianni's nowhere on the list. The job in Philadelphia is the worst job or one of the worst jobs in pro football Because no matter if you win it or you lose it, it doesn't matter what they think of you. They fired a guy winning a Super Bowl, and they almost fired a guy who went to the playoffs 3 years in a row. And then they stripped him down, and the quarterback can't stand him. Just imagine that. You're in a position where you're bringing in a coordinator now that's going to make a brand new offense for him. Because I heard the guys this morning. By the way, Xander will join us at the bottom of the hour, 3:30. I heard him say it. It's not going to be the Dallas offense. Well, whose offense is it going to be then? Oh, they're not going to take 22. They've already made it very, very clear. If you were going to make it about 22, you would have hired a guy like Todd Monken or Cliff Kingsbury. You don't hire a guy who doesn't believe in RPO. He never believed in RPO in LA or in Dallas. There was no RPOs in Dallas. The most Prescott ever ran was 35 times. There's no RPOs in Dallas. So you're creating a brand new offense that he's never executed in a game. And you're going to assume because he's gifted. Well, he's been fired 2 years in a row. Okay? Sills can't debate for Sills. You want to talk about regular season stats and go straight to the playoff again. I'm not sure what you're referencing, my friend. Josh Allen ain't winning shit. Well, he's in it actually in the AFC. And you're in a hell of a tough dive to try to get to the Super Bowl. It's tougher to win the AFC than the Super Bowl, actually, in my opinion. Think about that. It's tougher to win it. You got Chiefs and Ravens in the AFC title game. You got Chiefs and Niners. I don't know. Are the Niners better than the Ravens? Did the 49ers beat the shit out of them last year? Because if that's the case, the Niners were better. Am I right? Did the 49ers beat the hell out of the Ravens? Or was that vice versa? I don't remember. Somebody got the shit kicked out of them of the two. Who won that? Was it the Ravens dismantling the Niners? Or was it the Niners dismantling the Ravens? I forget what went down with that. Murray's a sleeper MVP? I don't know. Keep making AOC excuses. It's not excuses. Oh, the Ravens beat the shit out of the Niners? Is that what happened? Well, I mean, the team that beat and crushed you. Sills Ravens beat the shit out of the Niners. Okay. So you had a team in the Ravens just hammer the 49ers. And the 49ers got destroyed and destroyed you. And they lost in the AFC title game to the Chiefs. You tell me. What was the tougher conference championship game? Niners in Detroit or Ravens and Chiefs? Common sense. Try to be fair here. And the Ravens had home field. That's a heck of a title game. They beat all the teams that beat you. Oh, wait. I forgot. You got a regular season pelt against Kansas City. Yeah, okay. Okay. Lord, I think without a doubt, one thing they did in that game was they tried throwing the football and they wanted to get into a back and forth with Kansas City. And you try to get into a back and forth with Kansas City, you're going to lose that game. Sills, here's another benefit of Smitty's contract. Handing Smitty the bag in a restructure works because of the ROIs. It's better than bagging a player who underperforms current contracts. That's right. His contract, he'll never be an undervalued player. He'll never be an undervalued player. Right. Hurts beat Allen and Mahomes in back-to-back. And you lost to Drew Lock and Tyrod Taylor back-to-back. It's quite a dynamic. Who is he? Gotta love that, too. I mean, you went back-to-back against Tyrod Taylor and Drew Lock. Guys who are not even in the league anymore. I mean, I don't know. Are they in the league or have they retired? I forget. What's Josh Allen against Hurts? Dude, Not debating it. It's not a debate. If Hurts underperforms, he turns into Reddick in the locker. No. I do not believe that. And my last guy, probably going to shock you here. I got Reed Blankenship. I think Reed, with all the good players around him, I think he had a pretty good camp. So here are my Big Sills up and downs when it comes to this offseason so far. Up, Keely Ringo, Isaiah Rodgers, Zach Bond, Devin White, Micaiah Becton, and Reed Blankenship. Thumbs down, Jacoby Dean, Kenny Gainwell, James Bradberry, Josh Sweat, Hurts to a point, Nolan Smith, and Darius Slay. So, a lot of these guys and most of these guys are on defense. DBs, linebackers, two of them. By the way, your two starting inside linebackers and two defensive backs, Isaiah Rodgers. Hey, how about this? Isaiah Rodgers and Keely Ringo. You think there's an outside chance those two guys could start? Okay. Right? Reed's a steady player. He's a steady player. He is. He's a steady player. No question about it. All right. Xander's going to join us at the bottom of the hour here. We're going to also take a look at week 9. That's the Jaguars and Doug Peterson. I'm going to take a look at that because that's going to be one of the upcoming. We're going to also go through ups and downs. We'll get Xander's thoughts on thumbs up, thumbs down, guys, because we have been doing this now for 3 years, and I'm glad to see people around in the market are starting to do this a little bit. We'll ask him about the job. Is the Philadelphia Eagle job a good job? How many people still believe that that job is a good job? Being the Eagles head football coach. One wrong move, you're fired. One wrong move, no matter what you're or what you've done. Okay? No matter what you've done. Hey, folks, always remember something about your boy LJ in here. Just remember, always remember, he'll take Nick over Andy Reid and Doug. He said that here. Okay? He'll take those two coaches over Nick Sirianni. He believes that Nick Sirianni is the greatest coach in Philadelphia Eagle history. There's a lot of people in there that believe that. Hit the like button. Keep it here. Xander, where are we in the like list, my friend? Where are we? Where are we in the like list, my friends? Hey, LJ, look at this. A host talking about a faceless chat person. And there's two dudes in here that spend their night coming in here every day, wasting their lives. I don't get it. 87. Thank you. Very cool. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Val Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sales National Football Show. Please hit the like button. Merrill Reese will join us at 5:30 Eastern Time. Xander's going to join us here in a couple minutes. I heard again another comment made by Brandon Graham. Asked when he knew it was totally a shit show and that hit the fan. You know what he said? The Tampa playoff game. It was rock bottom with everyone in the locker room and poor coaching. Not poor playing, but poor coaching. What about player accountability? So you quit on your coaches. What kind of character is that in your locker room? By a leader. How's that? Brandon Graham's commenting. This is the second comment. And he said that they knew after the Tampa Bay game that it was a complete shit show. Where's your leadership? Where's Jason Kelsey? Where's Fletcher Cox? Where are any of those guys? I agree, JM. So Brandon Graham was taking a shit on Sean Desai, who had been fired after 10-2. Or maybe he's saying this. He knew it was a shit show with the coaches they had in the building. Well, Sean Desai wasn't a play caller. He wasn't calling defenses anymore. He was 10-2. He had beaten Mahomes. He had beaten Allen. He had beaten Dak. He had beaten Tua. He did his job. Personally, Sean Desai did his job. Then they replaced him because they panicked. And Brandon Graham says, well, we knew in the Tampa game, the playoff game, that it was completely rock bottom and no one wanted to perform. So when people getting to the stadium, they realized they didn't want to play. Per Brandon Graham, that they didn't want to play that playoff game. Maybe that's why A.J. Owens was in Atlantic City. Oh, that's right. He's injured or something. Whatever. He couldn't be on the sidelines with his team. He had to be at a strip club in Atlantic City. So Now you're throwing coaches under a bus and you're not taking accountability for your own locker room as players. You know why? Because you don't have to. Because your coach sucks. Because your coach embraces what Marcus Hayes said, insubordination. Brandon Graham is absolutely validating Marcus Hayes' comments that was made on Birds 365. I implore you to go back and listen to that. He endorses being a Judas. And Brandon Graham is echoing it. Hey, you know, that's close. That's almost insubordination. Well, it's those guys, not me. What's the difference between Brandon Graham saying that it's not us, it's the coaches, versus Darius Slay going, I played well, the rest of them didn't? What's the difference? What's the difference? What is the absolute difference? Spin goes like this. I don't believe the issue's resolved, Sills. It's not, because the guy's still in the freaking building and the quarterback hates his ass. It's not resolved. It'll be resolved. Hey, Spin, when you have cancer and you have an affliction, you go to a doctor and he does surgery on it and he takes it out. What they've done with these coordinators, put a Band-Aid on it. They put a Band-Aid on it. Hey, do you want to know what would really have made me feel better if you fired Sirianni and gave Kellen Moore the job that you were interviewing him for a couple of years ago and made him a play-calling head coach? And if you had done that, then you're going to go, well, okay, here we go. This is a brand new deal here. Why in the world would you bring back the same cancer into the locker room? Nick Sirianni's a cancer. People are so delicate not to really question Jalen's comments. Listen to any media member. It's quite puzzling when you get pushback from pretty much every media person that goes over there and watches those practices. Not to dump too much. You got guys on WIP this morning saying they feel sorry for the head coach. Why? Because the organization doesn't want you going ass in on him. That's not giving you true analysis. And by the way, my analysis compared to everyone else's, I give you what I see with conviction. Right? That's how I do it. I don't waffle it. This guy's either, because there's no bell curve. I was raised with a scoreboard, not a bell curve. You know what? Most people in today's society are raised on a bell curve. I'm raised on a scoreboard. Winner, loser. You know the greatest thing about sports? I've said it to you. You can't change the score of a game. You just can't change it. You cannot change that. So Brandon Graham on another podcast said, yeah, we knew the whole thing was falling through in the Tampa Bay game. So what, you quit? Merrill Reese will join us at 5:30 Eastern. Let's get to our friend here, Xander Krauss, the host and co-host of 365. Do a great job in the morning here.
What's going on, Big Sales?
All good, dude. Dude, what do you make of that comment by Brandon Graham saying that we knew everything was hitting the fan and the shit was all over the place and we knew that it was really the end for the Tampa Bay playoff game? That's when they knew everything was imploded.
Shows how much Nick Sirianni is really on the hot seat right now. I mean, if Brandon Graham's saying that, Brandon Graham, one of your most, for the Eagles type of veteran there is, outspoken, loud, good, great locker room guy, and he's saying that. I mean, what do you think the other guys are saying on the team? You know what I mean? What do you think the guys who aren't so quiet are saying on the team? So not good. And I love BG. I've said I've known him well. I've talked to him off the air many times. He's great dude. But when he says that, I got to be honest, that's definitely not something to bat your eye out for sure.
So let me lead you into this. Nick Sirianni, I keep getting this comment here that Nick Sirianni's record, 34-17, 2-3 in the postseason. Andy Reid, these are since 2002, 130, 93-1. He's 10-9 in the postseason in Philadelphia. Chip was even 26-21, 0-1 playoffs. Doug, Super Bowl champion, 4-2 in the playoffs, and 42-37. All that being said, Xander, do you think this Eagles job is a good job?
For a coach?
For a head coach?
Well, there's two sides to it. I mean, if you're like a Bill Belichick, I don't know, because they do give you a good roster from the most part. Like they give you resources. They invest into your team where I think, would you take the Panthers job?
No. But here, when you say they invest in your team, no, they invest in their team.
Yeah, but Nick Sirianni probably would have a 10-30 record if he was in another organization. He has a 34-17 record here in Philadelphia. Every coach who's ever been here, well, I guess besides Chip Kelly recently, has gotten another job at another spot. They've been somewhat successful. They win a lot of ball games. Andy Reid, Doug Peterson, Nick Sirianni. I can hate him all I want. I bet you when he's gone, he'll get hired somewhere. Brought a team to the Super Bowl, won a lot of ball games. So from that perspective, yes. But if you're a guy that likes to be in control, which I think most head coaches have that personality, probably not, right? I mean, you got to answer to a lot of masters to be the coach in Philly.
Would you really hire Nick Sirianni with what did I say? Say he goes 11-6. Let's just do this. He goes 12-5 and he's 46-22. And he's 3-4. They get bounced in the playoffs. He's 2-4 in the playoffs. You're telling me if he gets fired, goes to the playoffs 4 years in a row, you're an owner, you're going to go, well, why has this guy got such a great record? And why has this guy just been fired? You're not going to ask that question about what his skill set is, and you're going to go like this. You fire coaches with shitty records. You don't fire coaches with exceptional records.
I think that
puts more of a red flag to me on the hiring than it would be if a guy who was 10-30.
I think that's why they kept Nick. Namely that reason. You're going to fire Doug 3 years removed from your only Super Bowl in franchise history. And then Nick Sirianni goes back and they fire him right after a Super Bowl as well. It's just not a good look. No coach wants to go there. But look, Dan, there's only 32 of these jobs, man. At the end of the day, every one of them is attractive. Some of them have different reasons for being attractive, but they all are attractive. And Philly is a big market, passionate fans.
NFC East.
NFC East, it's a big money market. So from that perspective, I still think it's a good job. But I do hear what you're saying where, if you're a coach, you start to look at those trends and you're like, Doug won a Super Bowl. He reached the pinnacle and didn't get retained. I'm basically going there to get fired eventually. What you could say about
Well, here's where I got it from, because I got it from Dan Hurley. And I'm like, Dan Hurley looked at that Laker job and went, the UConn job's a better job than the Los Angeles Laker job with LeBron and AD, and it's LA. You're staying in store. I don't know how many of you have been to Storrs, Connecticut, but Storrs, Connecticut is no Santa Monica. There's no Steel Pier out there. I mean, that's not, and you go, I'm going to stay in Connecticut here, and I'm going to coach there, because it made me go, wow, look at Dan Hurley go, that job's not what it's cracked up to be. I think this job here in Philadelphia is not what it's cracked up to be, because if you don't go along to get along, you're out the door no matter what your success is or failures. Because look, Doug wins a Super Bowl, you're fired. Nick has all these fucking great successes and postseason appearances, and he's on the hot seat to get fired. Xander, it's almost like they don't really look at the head coaching job in Philadelphia as a priority.
Yeah, it's a fair point. I mean, here's what I will say, though. About the Nick Sirianni thing specifically. Doug is another story. I was not happy they went that way. But hasn't he done things that would make you want to fire him too, even with all the success?
Who?
Nick.
Nick. Yes.
That's where I'm like, I think you have to balance that realization of like, they're not just going to stick with him because he had some success if he sucks forever. But I do see what you're saying for sure. It's a tough line to draw in the sand. And I think the Eagles ownership really loves, I mean, remember, they fired Doug because they believe the front office was a bigger reason for winning the Super Bowl. So that right there I believe is a flawed mindset. And that's the mindset they have. I still think it's a worth it job though.
Do you think that they love how they're developed? Because remember, they're developing two people in front of our eyes right now, right? Doug as a coach and Jalen as a quarterback.
Nick as a
coach.
coach.
You believe that they like, and the reason they kept him is because here's a guy that works with analytics. Doug didn't really want to go down. We get to pick the assistant coaches with a little bit of him sprinkling in some stuff there, what have you, whatever that means. You know, he's not going to push back a lot, and he's going to give us the majority of the success. I don't know how many times I've get into a press conference or every time I hear Sirianni talk, there is never a comment without Howie Roseman's name being brought up and them making sure they defend that guy's reputation at every – hey, you know, Howie does it. And no one asks you about Howie. They ask you about your coaching staff. What's he got to do with it? Well, he hired him. We know this now. Maybe they're happy with the direction of the way they're developing him because that's what they envision what a coach should do. You know, you said something this morning, bro. He wasn't brought in here to be a CEO. What would he know about being a CEO? What would he know about that? He hasn't
done a great job.
He was hired to be a play-calling head coach.
Yeah, so he's now really selling you on being a CEO. He's talking about meetings with the defense, and he talked about meeting Milton Williams.
Shit.
I'm like, dude, what? I don't believe Nick Sirianni is giving Milton Williams anything of value as an offensive-minded head coach. But that's what they've turned him into, and you're right. Maybe that is what they want, right? A guy that doesn't have much say on either side of the football. He's going to go out and give the team or give the lip service the front office wants and is going to be malleable, I guess you could say, and open to whatever the front office wants to do. It's a fair point. It's a fair point for sure. And by the way, they are winning games. I mean, they didn't have a good year last year, but overall they're winning games. So he's managing.
By the way, you had a shitty year and you won 11.
Yeah, true.
I mean, what do you think the Jets would do with that? I mean, the Jets would be freaking out if they won 11.
That's another shit show in New York.
Oh, that's where we're going here now with the Reddick deal. All right. I don't know when you can actually say who won this because remember something here. For that thing to turn into a second-round pick, he's got to play 67% of the snaps this year. And on top of that, he's got to get 10-plus sacks. I don't know if that's or if that's both in that parameters that they put that contingency on that draft pick. So we don't really know what that's going to look like, but I would say this and I would concede to this. There's no doubt that Howie got ahead of this and didn't want this in his locker room because now it's a New York Jets mess because he's not at mandatory camp today.
Yeah, it's definitely a mess in New York. And I still wonder if it was worth it to just extend him. But again, we talked about this yesterday where it seems that they didn't want the guy in the building, even if they thought he was worth $20 million. It seemed like they wanted to move on from the player. Now it looks better for Howie, but I will say, let's still give this a little bit of time here. It's just off-season work. We're in June right now. I still believe Haason Reddick is going to play for the Jets this year, whether he gets a new contract or not. And by the way, that Jets defense is pretty damn good. And the defensive line over there is pretty damn good.
Secondary's insane, Greg. Both corners are really
on the line, Dan. They got Quinn and Williams on the line. They got a good line over there. And, you know, I think Haason will have a good year. So it'll be tough to gauge because, you know, if he puts up 15 sacks, everyone's going to be like, why'd you let that guy out the building? But, you know, there's a lot of context to the conversation.
But I got to tell you, see, you're bringing two different points up. And both are right. What's this one? Okay, well, you know, I didn't know if I wanted to address the money, you know, I mean, okay. But I could have addressed the money by making the player play his final option year out like Javon Hargrave by just forcing him to stay. He's not going to not play come this season because, like you said, he's not going to not miss out, like Gary Cobb said also yesterday, on $15 million. All that being said, maybe there was more of a cancer issue in the locker room with some of the shit that he was saying, because a lot of this stuff, Xander, looks to me coming from his agent. And his agent spreading that shit out. Maybe it pissed Howie off, and he went, I'm getting this guy out of here, and I don't care how we get him out.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Maybe a little bit of Haason Owens.
Yeah.
going on with Haason Reddick. But no, I mean, look, I don't have a problem with most stuff like that because he produced at a high level. But I do think they brought in a new defensive scheme, or not scheme, a new defensive regime, if you will. Vic Fangio is going to be the leader of it. He doesn't strike me as a guy that's going to let Haason Reddick boss him around and tell him what to do in his defense. Vic wants a guy that's going to say, what do you want me to do, coach? I'll go do it. And that's not really Haason Reddick. He's not that type of dude. At least he had never struck me as that. So maybe he was a little bit of a diva in the locker room, a little bit of a cancer, and how he moved on from him. It only look, I'm not defining this deal on what Haason Reddick does. I'm defining this deal on what Bryce Huff does.
Okay. Fair.
You know, if Haason Reddick goes and balls out, good for you, brother. I have no problem. I have a good place. I respect you. You delivered for us in Philadelphia. You were a big player on a team that went to the Super Bowl. Now, you didn't show up in the Super Bowl, but the turf and all that stuff.
But you would expect him to bring you between 12 and 14 sacks this year.
Right. So if he does that, good. That's great for you. Now, if Bryce Huff fails categorically in Philadelphia, now we got a problem. But if Bryce Huff can be competent or a good defensive end, you know what? Move on. Players are players, right? They come and go, and that's the nature of the business. Okay,
here's another one. I want you to explain something to me. I heard you say something to John. By the way, I implore people to go watch Birds 365. I'll tell you this too. Marcus Hayes' comments are resonating more and more and more and more and more and more every week. And I think Xander bringing that comment up, and it's great because you know why? I think it's a problem, and I think it's a cancer in their locker room. That whole dynamic between Jalen Hurts and the head coach, in my opinion, will be the focal point of the 2024 season on how that dynamic works. That's the talking point this year, is that dynamic between those two men, how that goes this year. There is no doubt about it that that's part of the process here. All that being said, you said something this morning, and I can't remember if it was you or John, and you guys were like, well, Kellen's not going to bring Dak Prescott's offense into Philly for Jalen Hurts. Did you say that?
I said I don't believe he's going to. I believe they hired him to be a good coordinator, and if he's a good coordinator, he's going to accentuate the talents of the guy he has. Just like you wouldn't interview me the same as you'd interview Merrill Reese later in the show. You know what I mean? Like, just from a perspective from that, that's what I believe. Now, I don't know for sure.
No. But where I'm going with this is this. Okay. So you believe then he's going to tailor make an offense that's going to fit the skill set of Jalen Hurts, because RPOs were not in Dallas. They were not in Dallas. So you're already not, you think that they're going to create a brand new offense. So follow me here, Xander. So you're going to put this brand new 95% new playbook in front of this quarterback with a coordinator that's never in a million years executed that boutique offense in any National Football League preseason or regular season game, and you're going to assume that that's going to work when he's never had this game plan executed in any way whatsoever, because he's not giving Herbert's offense. He's not giving Dak's offense. This is going to be, as you said, Jalen Hurts' offense. What gives you the positive? By the way, I'm not leaning either way. I'm asking, what gives you the room where you go, oh, he's going to have a great year this year because he's going to create a brand new offense for him?
Well, to be fair, I mean, Shane Steichen didn't come in with a proven offense either. Now, he was running Nick Sirianni's offense, actually, is what Shane Steichen was doing. But they were going to his skill set of running the ball. Yeah. There you go. Prince just said it. Shane did it before Jalen. Yeah. What's your contrary point though? Like, do you think Kellen is going to come in and just apply the same offense he did with Dak?
No, I think he's the alternative is. I think they like the 23 offense, and they're going to make it more so with a better play caller. Because the number one thing that they had a problem with, and everyone's been saying, the situational play calling in the game with Nick's offense, they didn't like the way Brian Johnson.
Dumb play calls, right?
dumb play calls, dumb situation. I think they're going to do a little more screening with Barkley. I think there's going to be a check down list down here. That's going to be a part of it. But other than that, I think you're going to hope that Kellen Moore helps him in his fundamentals with the new quarterback coach on getting back in a 7-step under center and better routes, more motion. But I think you're going to see the same shit that you saw in 23 with more quality coaches.
And I think is that okay though? What's the problem with that?
My point is
offense last year. So if
he's
you can
never called that for him.
No, he never has. But if he's a good offensive coordinator, he should be able to do it at a somewhat better level than Brian Johnson was able to do it.
Okay.
So I think I'm optimistic from that perspective.
Okay.
On it. But I think Kellen Moore is where he's really going to help Jalen Hurts is at the things that Jalen Hurts is not so great at. Maybe I don't want him to do it too much. I don't want him to make Jalen Hurts not Jalen Hurts anymore. But even just some of the underneath stuff. Son, I don't need a home run every day. It was it Jeff Kerr or I think it was Farzetta this morning who said the single works too. Singles are good. I'll take a single every once in a while. I don't need a home run or a triple every time or a grand slam. Take the single. I think Kellen's going to force him to do that. Like even Dallas Goedert. I don't know if you heard Dallas Goedert when Dallas Goedert spoke. He said quicker throws to the tight ends are happening. Jalen didn't do that much last year. Dallas Goedert's a top 5 tight end in the league. So they say. He's a top 5 talent. He's not utilized like a top 5 tight end. Now, I hope they use him like that this year. But I also I don't want them to pull, like I said, I don't want them to pull him out of being Hurts. And that's the fear, because that's Brock Purdy style, where you drop and get rid of the ball immediately every play. Get it to your playmakers. That's not really Jalen Hurts.
What's that tell you a little bit about quicker throws to the tight end? You know what that is? Quicker throws to the tight end? That's non-progressive reading. That's telling them where to throw the ball.
Yeah.
That's more of a college direction. See, in college, Xander,
there's also probably a level of quicker instinct to it too, where you need to read a defense quick. I mean, the defense, if that's the case where they're just going,
that's a pre-snap play then.
True. It's a pre-snap play because if they're going up to that line and saying, okay, we're going to get, eventually the defense is going to scheme that out, or they're going to put a look in there that makes you think you can do it, and then they're going to pick the ball off. So
or jam them.
Exactly. So Hurts is going to have to, this is one of the biggest things with Jalen, right? Like he needs to take that step forward in being able to read defenses. It's a hard thing to do. Brady struggled with it for a long time. Every quarterback struggles with it
guy
to some extent. Some pick it up quicker than others, but Jalen's at a point now where Jason Kelsey's gone. It's on him, and he's going to have to do it quickly and do it efficiently so that he can make this offense hum. But overall, I think do you think Kellen Moore is an improved
Yes.
offense? Yeah, you do, right? Compared to Brian Johnson.
Yeah.
Now the question is how good, right? How improved?
No, the question for me is going to be how much will the quarterback retain? And how much will the quarterback be able to process the information? Because, again, I've told you this. One of the things that makes great quarterbacks, it's not the arm. It's the feet. How fast you get back in your 7, and do you process the information in front of you, and how fast do you process it? We've seen quarterbacks with lesser arms be exceptionally successful. Peyton Manning doesn't have a gargantuan arm, dude. But what he did do, he knew where to throw the ball. He knew pre-snap reads. He knew progression tree. Yeah. He was a savant in all that shit. I don't believe Jalen is. I think they've rushed the kid. And again, do I think Jalen will be a better reader of defenses 3 years from now? I do.
Yeah, right.
I do. But to sit there and go like last year was would you not agree? Last year was the first time without the run game involving him on a game day basis of 17, 18 carries like they had him in 22. Okay, do you agree that was the first year they were asking him to read defenses, and that's why the turnovers and the blitzes picked up in volume?
Absolutely. That's 100% true. Now, I wonder if the one scary part, I guess you could say, about this is Jalen kind of tipped his hand that he hasn't picked up on this yet. That's why he made that comment about the 95%, because he knew everybody was talking about the offense being poor. We didn't hire Kellen Moore.
And when he asked him, do you like it? It's too early.
Yeah, and the other point is Kellen didn't get hired last month. He got hired in June or January. This is 6 months ago now. I mean, I know you're not getting much chances to install this offense, but
you're 40 days
out. You only had how many months in an off season? Like, you got to start picking this up quick and getting meaningful reps. Because if you don't, we're gonna sputter for 8 weeks out of the gates. So
40 days until camp.
That's 40 days till camp. That is crazy how quick it's going. It feels like we were 40 days from the collapse, but that was 6 months ago.
40 days to camp, and you got a quarterback going. I don't know if I like the offense, and I'm a little bit when it comes to picking up what's going on here. See, I happen to disagree a little bit with some of the things that John says about the pajama stuff, because in pass rush drills, just like Gary Cobb said, hey, bro, I don't need pads in a pass rush drill. I'm going the same strength and same way. That's even why Detroit got penalized and lost their final mandatory day, because they were going too physical.
Well, here's where it does change. When that offensive line's on the field.
Yeah, when the run game is installed, that's when it changes.
And offensive line in general. I mean, that offensive
7 on
line
7, you're going to get the same look, whether it's in passing or not. The install of the runs in training camp is what makes it the physical part.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see how it all shapes up, but you are right. I mean, there's no doubt about it. From a passing perspective, the offense is way behind. That's why Hurts made the comments. I believe it is. He's an intentional guy. He doesn't give much to the media, and he comes out. By the way, he wasn't even asked that question. He
offered it.
Yeah, exactly. He went to that from the question and was like, okay, he wanted to get this out there. It was actually a John McMullen or a Martin Frank question.
Yeah.
I believe. And yeah, so, you know.
And I would think it was Frank that went like
no,
this.
It was John McMullen. Martin Frank asked the question about Sirianni. That's who Martin Frank.
Oh yeah, but who made the comment? 95% of the offense is new. Somebody barked that out.
Yeah, there's Reuben Frank, I believe. From
I think it was Reuben too. All right. You know, as we like here at JAKIB Sports, you and I know that other people like to take our content and create, which is okay, because I listen to other things too. I listen to you guys. So, I mean, I get it. So, you know, Big Sills has always been thumbs up, stock down kind of thing. And I wrote these guys' names down for stock up, stock down this offseason here. What do you want to start with first? Do you want to do up or do you want to do
stock down? Let's go stock down first.
Stock down. Okay. You know, Xander, I'm going to take a sip of water myself here, because you could be onto something, but you didn't think it clearly. And now I'm kind of helping you here on it, because here, listen to this. Bradberry stock's down, correct?
Yeah.
You're not going to trade him for anything. Nobody's going to take the contract up. However, Slay has value.
Yeah. I know.
So he's on this team for a reason. Maybe it's Slay. If these guys get into training camp, because a 33-year-old Slay could get you a 5th rounder, 4th rounder. He's been a Pro Bowler the last 3 years. Somebody would pick that up. Then you have Bradberry with experience backing up Keely Ringo and Isaiah Rodgers. And
the problem
you
is
have
you're
a
not
guy in the building that played in 22, the style that made him a second-team All-Pro, who's 30 instead of 33, going on 34.
It's a better
That's
move.
not wild.
It's a better move. Here's why. You get 3 years younger. And everyone's like, why would you get rid of Slay? And I get it. Originally, that's my initial thought.
They're going to get rid of him anyway.
They were 31st in pass defense last year. I don't care how good Slay was. It wasn't good enough to be better than 31 with James and him out there. There's not even a sense in keeping them. You might as well rip the Band-Aid off. You're going to be somewhat better. I mean, you basically can't
play the young guys.
Play the young guys, and you get younger with the older dude in Bradberry. Here's the problem, though. You're not going to put Bradberry on the bench. He can't play special teams. So you need those backup corners to play special teams. He can't play.
Could you put him in the slot?
I guess you probably could. I mean,
he's bigger.
He'd probably be better in the slot, but didn't they try that last year? And that was the thing they got that Desai got crushed for, is they put him in the slot and he got burned.
Is that the thing up there in Seattle that he did?
I think it was. I don't know exactly where it was.
The Seattle game, they dropped him in the slot.
Because I remember John's always like, look, Vic Fangio will do that. Nobody will bat an eye, but Sean Desai hasn't earned the right, so everybody goes nuts on him. But I think it's
you might be onto something here, because Bradberry's going to give you nothing. Okay, he's going to give you nothing. However,
from a return market value,
I'm going to get something on a return and get that off my books. Where that $9 million hit on Bradberry doesn't look so bad if I get rid of that other $10 million off my books on Slay.
Now, will they take this into the season, though, you think? Like,
No.
what if think like
No, I would be shocked if both men are still on the roster September 6th.
Oh, I would be shocked. But I will say, I mean, think like a Robert Quinn, like mid-year 4th rounder for Darius Slay. I mean, it would be almost impossible to turn that down. It's like the Bears. Like, why would the Bears turn down? No, we gave him a 4th for Robert Quinn. It was one of Howie's only bad moves that year. 22 when we went to the Super Bowl.
And I never killed him for it because it was a swing I liked.
Yeah, Howie's going to swing, you're going to miss. I mean,
he had 15 sacks the year before. Those are moves where you go like this. Okay, well, he had nothing in the tank. He took a swing.
Yeah,
and it was on a football team, by the way, that needed a little bit extra in the pass rush. And Howie, I don't mind that kind of shit. I really don't.
No, I don't either. I'm with you on that for sure. I mean, look, they're NFL GMs, man. They don't shoot 100% from the field. Nobody does. So you have to be all right with it. I'm with you. I'd rather have a GM that's taking shots when he feels he can go the distance than not taking shots. And by the way, the 2 other signings he made that year, Sue and Linval Joseph, were massive. Linval Joseph was a huge impact on that football team.
And it affected not only the defensive line when it came to run stopping, but it also impacted the play. Remember after that Pittsburgh game or Tennessee game, how out of gas Fletcher Cox was? Fletcher Cox turned his game around in that season because when they brought those guys in, they gave him more limited reps and they were higher quality production.
Yep, absolutely.
That's how good he played.
Yeah.
That's so good. Okay.
Wait, just to circle back, though, on the Slay thing, I do think that's possible. I almost think it's likely because Howie's a guy, remember, Howie's a guy that counts everything. Howie wants the most value for what he has. That's why he's holding on to Bradberry right now. Everyone's like, why didn't they just cut him? Howie's holding out because he thinks he can get a 5th or a 6th or a conditional 7th in the future. If he can get a 4th for Slay at the end of the year,
I don't think I really like what you did. You're following the breadcrumbs now. You're starting to follow the breadcrumbs a little
Here's
bit.
the problem. If the Eagles are looking damn good heading into that trade deadline,
they're going to move him.
See, or it's the opposite.
Keep him?
I mean, if you're looking damn good, you're not going to deplete your team at that point when you have rhythm and continuity and you want to make a run for the Super Bowl. You're not going to move Slay. Now, if you suck, which obviously there's going to be a whole litany of other problems at that time, then I think it's a no-brainer. So it's almost like if you want that to happen, you're basically going to assume the team is going to not be reaching expectations.
Don't you think Slay's market value is down? How about this? I'll rephrase that.
I mean,
don't you think the Eagles are he's less valuable as a stock to the Eagles today than he was, say, a year ago?
Slay?
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, he's 33. That's like,
okay.
Yeah, that's old for an
that's
NFL
part of
player.
Yeah, production, money. You know, this is college where I could slug another kid in who I got there from Tuscaloosa. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's you've got that all plays into it. Let's go to another guy. You think Gainwell's value's down?
Gainwell, maybe yes, because they drafted his replacement basically in Will Shipley. I'm not sure what Will Shipley will be, but doesn't matter. I'm not a Kenny Gainwell guy. I don't know why some people gravitate toward him. He didn't do much. Now we don't use him right. To be fair to him, he's more of a versatile back. He was a wide receiver at Memphis, so like we don't use him like that at all. But I would say yes, stock down because it looks like they replaced him. So, man, what the fuck are these people in the chat saying? Sill's dead. Come on, man. I'm gonna block you guys. That's some dumb stuff. I try not to block anybody in the chat, but if you do that dumb crap, there's no reason to keep you in here. They're adding nothing to the show. I
don't get. It's like the guy's been wasting his life just writing this stuff here. Anyway, let's go to another guy here, my friend. Nakobe Dean, stock up or down?
Down. I can't listen to another reporter tell me how Nakobe Dean is penciled in at the number 1 because the organization likes him. Dude, I don't care. He hasn't been.
You were going to come in glued this morning.
He hasn't been on the field. I'm like, how much longer is he just given the top spot? It's ridiculous. I've never seen anything like it. He's not, by the way, he's not even like a 1st-round pick. He's a 3rd-round pick. Like, I've never seen a 3rd-round pick not have to earn their way on the field. If Devin White and Zach Bond are playing good, play Devin White and Zach Bond. Nakobe Dean better get on the field. I mean, I can't hear this anymore. And then also hear practice is out. Kobe Dean's watching from the sideline. Like, how many more times am I going to hear that? Now, granted, the linebacker room sucks. Like, it's not like we're talking about him starting over, caliber guys there. Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's crappy guys behind him, so it's unfortunate. But
Josh Sweat, stock up or down?
I'd say down because he died or he fell off at the end of last year because of how many snaps he played, and you got rid of Haason Reddick,
and now they got him second team.
Yeah, but who'd they have on first team?
Well, they've for whatever reason they're turning into the league 34 front. They're not turning in a 4 front, so they have him behind Huff. Hey, wait, let me double check that.
Well, so who do they have on the field then?
Okay, well, the 34, they have Milton Williams, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Bryce Huff, Dean White, and Nolan Smith. That's what they turned into the Players Association as a starting front seven.
If you have a 4-man front?
3-man. Your ends are Milton Williams.
And Jalen Carter. Got it.
And your nose is Davis. Your outside rushers are Nolan Smith and Bryce Huff. Your inside linebackers are Dean and White. That's your front seven.
I'm all right with that. I mean, I don't think Josh Sweat's going to be here long. Wasn't there rumors of him getting traded? And then he was, they kind of kept him around because I guess they moved on from Reddick. I've never been a Josh Sweat fan. He never, quote, fully lived up to his expectations, and it's annoying because he's like the perfect build for a high-end edge rusher in the NFL. Ultimately, it hasn't really worked out. I mean, I guess it's worked out. It hasn't been great. I'm not sold on the player. Last year he fell off a cliff. That's his problem. Some days you look at him and you're like, holy moly, this guy can be a tremendous edge rusher. Other days it's like, where the hell was that dude? So I don't want a player like that anyway. Too inconsistent. It's too hard to build a defense around guys like that. But the worry with him this year is, like I said this to John this morning, we talked about Josh Sweat, and I'm like, he fell off last year with those many snaps. John's like, well, he's going to play less this year. I'm like, really? How?
946.
And he's like, Brandon Graham is on his out. Maybe he can play more. I'm like, come on, John. You think Brandon Graham is going to take snaps away from Josh Sweat at 35 years old? I don't see that.
No way. No way. I put down. Now, let me ask you this one. This might be a tough one for you. Do you think Hurts' stock is up or down today?
From last year?
Yeah.
I would say it's trending at 0% up or down. Things trending right on the line. I mean, I need to see this. I don't want to overreact to an off-season stuff. I really don't. But
well, I'm not reacting to off-season. I'm reacting to what I saw in his last moments. You're only as good as the last games you played. And there were 2.5 months, and then this that's a fiasco in training camp with the language and not liking dude, I don't get a feeling he likes what's going on.
No, I don't either.
I'll tell you what, he's not positive about anything.
Do you feel like he's a little bit more checked out now? Remember, he got that bag of money. The tail is over.
I don't think the money's affecting it. I think the lack of consistency in the organization's affecting him.
Yeah, but I'm getting a little bit more of a fuck it type of mentality from him. I don't know if it's true.
Fuck it up, do what they'll say.
But not even that. Just basically like, yeah, it's 95% new. I'm learning. Like, I don't know if I'll like it. We'll see. Like it used to be, Jalen was intense, football, blah, 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 this. I want to work with my guys, all this.
You think he wants to be here?
I'm going to go do non-football stuff. Like, okay.
Think he wants to be here?
I think he wants to make the paycheck. I think he's happy making the paycheck. I don't think he loves Philadelphia like most people think he does. He's a Southern boy, dude. Southern guys don't like Northeast. I mean, that,
Yeah, no.
If you go down to Houston.
I know. Hey, everyone up here hate their life. I'm looking at my wife and I told her, I go, it's the weather.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
He'd rather be playing at some place like New Orleans.
JM says, bro isn't concerned with football. I agree a little bit. I mean, and remember, Dan, we're also talking about the season last year and how it ended and how he looked in the sideline in that Tampa Bay Bucks game. Add that to the mentality thing. Like, guy's paid. He's not going anywhere. They're not moving on from a $100 million cap hit. All right, my coordinator's going to suck again.
Yeah, but why can't it just be as simple as this? I fucking hate the head coach they have in here. I like everything else. I like all my teammates. I fucking hate him. Why can't people say that?
Yeah, but Dan, you're the starting quarterback of an NFL franchise.
Okay.
I don't care what you think of the head coach. When you're asked in the media,
Brady,
what you think, he wasn't asked. He was given a wiffle ball teed up on a platter for him to smash out of the park.
He sure
and
was.
He balked at it twice. You're the leader of this organization. I don't care what you feel about him. You should back him in that moment, even if behind the scenes you hate him. And I thought that was a failed attempt by him, and everybody's making a big deal about it. And I don't want to make too much of his comments. These guys aren't under oath up there, but I didn't like it. I don't like it. I'm not a Nick Sirianni guy. But you're the quarterback, man. If you want this thing to work, you need to at least put up a show of, yes, me and our head coach, we're doing what we can to make this thing work. He basically went the other way.
Yep.
Big
All
problem,
right.
I would say.
Nolan Smith, stock up or down?
Neutral.
Damn. You're really going to walk a fence on two dudes on me here? Pick a side, dude.
How could it go down?
Do you think his stock? So you think his stock is not very valuable?
From when to when? Stock up from when to when?
From a year ago to now.
Year ago before last season, down. Down. But I mean, if you're talking about the end of last year, it's even. Let's see what he does in year 2. Look, I do, and you know this. You can't judge a guy on 1 year. You can't. You
Well,
just
you do.
can't. What do you mean?
Hurts?
No, I'm talking about 1 year as a rookie.
Okay.
I'm not judging Hurts on 1 year.
Okay.
Hurts has a body of work.
Oh, he does?
Dan, judge Brandon Graham on his first year of his career. Judge Fletcher Cox on the first year of his career.
First 4.
Judge any player. Judge AJ Brown on the first year of his career. It's not a full way to gauge a player. Do I think from his draft time the stock is down? Yes. Do I think that's an indictment on who he could end up being in the NFL? No, I don't. I don't think it's enough.
Okay. I'll ask you a fair question then. Here, just check this out. So if you put Nolan Smith on the open market, what do you think you'd get back in return for a draft pick? That's all I'll need to know. What round would you get? What round would you get right now for Nolan Smith?
That's a little bit of an unfair question as well, because as you know,
if I put Milton Williams on the market, I'm going to get a 3, 2, or 1.
No, you're not.
Oh yeah.
You're going to get
he
a
has
3.
not lowered his value as a
You're
player.
You're going to get a 3, but come on, Dan, you know this.
Last year, he was the 3rd-ranked guy by PFF as the most productive DT in the league.
How many players in the NFL right now can you trade a first-round pick for? There's not that many. That's not a fair way to judge somebody.
Oh,
it's not.
So what do you think you get for Devontae?
Devontae, you get a first-round pick. AJ Brown,
you get for Mulata?
Definitely first-round pick.
Hey,
you don't trade offensive tackles
how
like
about Landon Dickerson? He was a 2nd.
Yeah, he was a high 2nd, but he was a 2nd. That's right. Yeah, you'd get a first.
How about Cam? You think Cam would be in that first round now?
You could argue late first. All right, I see where you're going.
They got players on.
No, you're not getting a first-round pick for Nolan Smith. You might go
4.
Early day 3 is what I was going to say. So that'd be 4. Yeah. Wait, let's go to Prince. We missed a super chat. I'm going to get it. I think they're frustrated. That's why you are hearing things now. They probably can't openly discuss it and are being discreet with their comments. Fair point.
Yep.
You guys don't know this, but I mean, I know you guys don't always believe Sills, but boy, that the PR department of the Philadelphia Eagles is intense. They call us often about this show specifically. So I wouldn't be surprised if the minute one of those guys says something out of line, that PR department is clamoring on them. So maybe you're all right. Maybe it's a little bit of the dam is breaking and the guys are trying to put out little, spigots of it. Maybe, but
let me just say this. There's two things Big Sills hates. When I get a text from Xander at 3:30 in the morning and I get a call from Big Joe at 5:30 at night, my time. Hey, what are you doing? Big Sills doesn't like, hey, Joe, I love you, but I don't really like seeing you call me. All right. So we got that down. Let's do a couple of these before we take a time out here. Stock up. Kelee Ringo, right?
Oh, absolutely. He'd be my biggest stock up. And I missed it when I said which one was on Birds 365. I think he's the best one of the young guys. I really do. Now, we haven't seen it yet, and that's my projection. That's my opinion. That I don't have anything to prove that other than what I believe the player is going to be. But this is a guy who dominated the SEC when he played in the SEC. Teams actively avoided throwing to Kelee Ringo, and when he did, he made them pay. He comes out of college probably a little bit prematurely. Now he did. I respect it. Maybe you don't know why a guy declares for the NFL. He needs to make money, whatever it was. NIL wasn't a thing 2 years ago, really, or it was just starting. He's 21 drafted. He's now 22 years old. And A.J. Brown, the guy who's playing against him in practice every day, said to John McMullen off the record, that kid is going to be a stud. And that's a guy, look, you might not like A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown is good enough to know when a cornerback is going to be at least decent.
Hey, you're
done, and that's why John says openly, that's why I believe in Kelee Ringo, because the best receiver I've ever covered told me he's going to be damn good. So
I will tell you one more time about my dealings with.
Let's go. A.J. Brown's my favorite debate with you, Big Sills.
He's a really good football player. Who just likes to hear himself talk too much. That's all. And by the way, I should probably like that.
True. It's not
because again, I mean,
the guy doesn't even talk that much. Like you act like he's one of these guys. Like he does not talk by any standard.
I will be holding my press conference later on today, so all of you minions can come over and watch me talk. Oh, and by the way, make sure you get all my targets to me and not him. Oh, he got a brand new deal? I've had 3,000 yards. He's not wrong.
That's an assumption.
2 years left on his deal. He cried his way into a contract.
Yeah, and then now the Eagles made out like a bandit. They got ahead of the wide receiver market, and in 2 years' time, he's going to be the 8th paid receiver, producing like a number 1, 2, or 3. Come on, man. JM asked if I'm lying about that. JM, I promise you, I am not lying about the Eagles PR department calling about Dan Sileo. They are not a fan of this show. The entire Eagles organization.
Let's go to Isaiah Rodgers.
Thumbs
up, thumbs down.
Yes, big stock up. We'll see. I mean, you put him in yesterday as your
starter.
Starting cornerback. I do wonder the business of the NFL getting in the way of him, and we talked about this yesterday. Keely's playing good in practice. He's a draft pick. Quignon's playing good in practice. That's a draft pick. Cooper DeJean's playing good. That's a draft pick. Are they going to just give them guys a slight edge if they're all right there? Battle, you know what I mean? So that's where I wonder where Isaiah gets on the field. And that's why I brought up getting rid of Slay potentially. Because
no.
I would rather build my defense around guys that are going to be here for the foreseeable future.
Play the younger guys.
Isaiah Rodgers is probably a guy you can get if he pans out. Or not pans out, but he plays like we're expecting him to play, or we're hoping he can play. You could probably get him on a bargain deal. You might be able to get him on a 2-year deal at $10 million a year, and have a guy that at cornerback playing that good. So I like him a lot. Is he a slot corner? Do they put him in the slot? He played outside in Indy, but he's more built like a slot. I don't know.
He's their most gifted athlete back there.
Yeah. Now, granted, remember, this is helmets and shorts where guys like that thrive. The one knock on Isaiah Rodgers coming out of
his physicality, getting guys out of the
yeah, and that's what Kelee Ringo brings. I'm telling you, this guy can hit. Kelee Ringo is the full package. I am so high on Kelee Ringo. I think he's going to be the cornerback of the future. I think he has a better chance at being our long-term cornerback
than
Quinyon Mitchell. Now, I'm not
put Mitchell in the slot.
Right. I'm not saying Quinyon's not going to be. I'm just saying, talk to me in 5 years. I think Keely Ringo is going to be on a fast track to being a pro, whether or a
Isaiah
Pro Bowler.
Rogers, Keely Ringo, Quinyon Mitchell, and Cooper DeJean. Then makes Reed Blankenship and Sydney and them guys create even more competition, more depth, and you've created a secondary that's in line with your old line in depth.
Yeah, that's the move right there. I mean, imagine Ringo. Look at Robert in the chat. Ringo, Mitchell, and Rogers. That's young, though, dude. Is that too young?
Well, that's what Kansas City did. But they did have Snead. See, Snead was the one X factor in there. But when Snead's contract came up, what'd they do? Hey, man, we believe in our young guys. Look at what Kansas City did. Now, 60 or 15 on the other side gives you the ability to go, fuck it. He could throw us out of trouble.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he
Tough
does
to compare.
afford
It's
that.
tough to compare anything to them, right?
No doubt, because the quarterback and the two coaches are insane great.
Patrick Mahomes is just that good. So it's really hard to. Yeah, it's hard to compare, but I agree. I mean, that's what they did. That's what most teams that win consistently for a long time do. Remember, Bill Belichick used to do it too. Get rid of his guys when when he didn't want to give them the money.
Flex it. Tell Howie and company to get used to it because we ain't going nowhere. However, flexing, that's not something I'm going to sit here and parade around. Okay, that's not a victory lap thing. You know what that is?
It is.
What?
I think it is.
It's more of this. It's more that we have their attention for me. And we have their attention that what we say here, no matter if I have 4 people watching, 4 of them will be from the Eagles. So just remember that.
Dan, we're a small network founded by me and my father. We are broken into one of the biggest media landscapes in Philadelphia in football, a market most other people doesn't. Pick anybody in the chat. Pick your biggest favorite Eagles YouTuber, however many subscribers they have. I promise you the Eagles don't care about them. I promise you. The Eagles care what we're saying on this show. They care what we're saying on this network. I haven't heard it only from Dan. Believe me, I hear it from the source itself. So I'm proud of how far we've come on this network, on this show, and what we've been able to do in Philadelphia. It's an honor. It is a badge. It is something to wear. They're listening to this show. They don't have to listen to this show. They are. And I think that's a big thing. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of what we've built. I'm proud of the work you and I have put into the show.
Sweat and tears.
There you go. I mean, I'm never going to back down or shy away from that. I really am. I'm seriously proud of what we've been able to accomplish in 2.5, 3 years. And I think it's only getting bigger and it's getting scarier for the Eagles. Because I'm not going to
the show and hearing viewpoints that aren't canned. Curious, is Jody still with the program? Listen, always remember
Jody's gone, guys. Yeah, Jody's gone.
Just remember something, guys.
Yeah.
Every company, every business, every network, no matter who it is, this is one of the biggest transitional things and situations, just like football. But guys move on. Guys do other things. By the way, I've never heard the Krausses do this in a million years, ever bad talk a guy walking out the building, no matter who he is, no matter what bullshit they do. I have never heard that from them. They don't talk to me like that. They talk to me about Dan Sileo matters, just so you know. And guys, we have to say this to you too, not to give you guys reach arounds here, but this thing is nowhere without you guys because they care that you react to what we say.
Exactly. It's not just what we're saying. It's that these guys are listening. So, and I always say it, Dan, you can go all around Eagles YouTube, and it's big. There's a lot of Eagles YouTubers around nowadays. There's a lot of media outlets that are now coming on. There's all sorts of stuff on YouTube covering the Philadelphia Eagles. Our viewers, our chatters, the people that are constantly viewing our channel are by far the best on YouTube. I mean, I go and read some of these other chats. I'm like, this is dumb. I wouldn't want to be in this chat. These guys make content for themselves in the chat. They're so good. They're knowledgeable. They bring good points. I love them. I really do. I don't care if you hate me. I mean, yeah, I'm a big fan of everybody. Brian, we appreciate you flexing. They're the man. So I love them all, man. They make our network grow and they make us who we are. So it really is appreciated. It goes a long way.
Zach Bond, stock up or down?
Stock up, got to be, right? I mean, I think he's going to be the guy who's right now is turning to Kobe Dean. Huh?
Who is he? who is he? Like, he was in New Orleans. Did he play a lot? I mean, he's been in the league 4 years. Now, and remember this. Was it because the offense struggled so much that the entire defense looked so good that we're overestimating what we saw on defense a little bit in pajamas and all? Was it just that they were stumbling around going through the learning curve of a very high-octane offense? Because I would tell you this.
Yeah.
The playbook for the offense, Xander, and a pro is this. Here's the playbook for a defense. It's half of that. So those guys have a lot to retain over there.
Yeah. So is it credit to Zach Bond, or is it an indictment on the linebackers on the Eagles roster that a guy is showing up at camp, but you're like, who is he though? You know, now I don't want to get too caught up in names and stuff. If he can play, but yeah, you're right. I mean, the Eagles have no linebackers, and they've shown they're not going to invest in the position. And now we're looking at Zach Bond, and we're all hopeful that he can be a guy. Hopefully he can be a guy, because I'm not sold on the Kobe Dean being a guy. Are you?
No.
Yeah, I know you're not.
I never have been, but they drafted an injured player. Let's do two quick ones. How about Micaiah Becton?
Wait, we missed the super chat, brother. Wait.
Oh, we did? Okay.
Micaiah Becton's stock up, though. M. Reyes, he's chirping us. When we're 12-0, will you blame Hurts or Howie?
How about this? When you're 19-0 or when you're 20-0, why in the world do you go 12-0? What are you, playing college football and going for the national championship? Dude, it's a 17-game regular season. If you're fortunate enough to only play 3 postseason games, that's 20-0. I know I'm not great in math or English or can read.
Let me answer Emrace too. Here, I'll be pumped, Emrace. By the way, I'm a fan like you. I'm critical because I'm on here with Sills, and it's basically impossible to not be critical when he's shoving his talking points.
Are you saying I'm leading the witness?
Yeah, I am, exactly. But listen, it ain't how you start, it's how you finish. We were 10-1 last year. I could have said, if you told me before the season you're going to be 10-1, I'd be like, great, we're going to potentially go back to the Super Bowl. Well, we collapsed. So I don't care about 12-0. I don't, and neither should you. We should care about what are we when the confetti falls in February? Where are we in that scale? And that's what I'm viewing this season as, and that's what the learning lesson is from last year. I don't care how good you are. I don't care what time. You need to perform when you need to perform. Actually, Dan, I wouldn't even have cared about the collapse last year at all if the team showed up and played in Tampa.
If they had won,
I don't even want to say if they won.
Great call.
If you showed up, they didn't even show up.
Nope.
They didn't even care.
Nope.
They didn't
Randy Graham told you they didn't care.
Jalen was shaking. It was nothing over there on the sideline. Not a leader. Didn't care. Didn't show any sort of will to win. That's what pissed me off, is when you get to the playoffs and it's put up or shut up, win or go home, and you don't care, you don't show up. That's when I'm pissed. I don't even care if you go 6-1 down the stretch and you win the playoff game, because, hey, now it's time to win. But they didn't do that at all. So it matters at the end of the year. So that's what I care about.
Okay, I'll ask you one last one here. Got a coach 34-17, 2-3 in the postseasons, won an NFC championship, 3 straight playoff wins. Is his stock up or down?
Knicks?
Yeah.
It's
Wait a
down,
minute.
Sills.
How's it down? He's one of the most successful coaches in Eagle history.
It's down because he's losing.
Has he lost the locker room?
I can't say for sure, but it's certain. I mean, from an outsider's perspective, if somebody said he did, it would be hard to argue the other way. And that's scary. Right?
So has he lost the locker room? Yes or no?
I'm going to say no.
Oh. There you see, he can't do it because you know why? He loves his birds.
No, because if I do, that means we're going to suck eggs this year, dude.
Hey, wait. So you don't believe that guy? You think that guy has the pulse of the locker room with his players?
No, I don't.
The quarterback hates your fucking guts.
Yeah, but then what if he stays out of the way? Back to your list. Back to your how the Eagles get back to the Super Bowl. What if he stays out of the way?
Okay,
What if
here's
it's all
here's
Kellen
another. Can
Moore's
he win
offense?
back the
It's
locker
all
room?
Vic Fangio's defense, and Nick Sirianni
Okay.
shuts up and does what he's asked.
Okay, how about this? This is how you say he keeps his job. What if he does all that, stays out of the way, and does that? Can he win his locker room back?
Maybe, but he doesn't have the problem with that is I think when you get to a certain level, people respect you for what you do. Jalen couldn't even tell us what he did. He says,
it's a good question.
He's been given a good message to the team. Okay. Is that why he's the head coach of the team, to give a good message?
Welcome back, guys.
So from that perspective, yeah, right. From that perspective, I don't know if he can win him back. You know, I really don't. I mean, I don't know, Dan. If I join you on this island, which I got to be honest, you're convincing me. If I join you on that island, then we're gonna have a bad year. All of a sudden, Angelo Cataldi. I think. By the way,
you opened up your show with the right angle, dude. That's a bigger story because you still have a cancerous problem. I won't say him, but you got a cancerous problem that you didn't eradicate out of that building and locker room from a year ago.
Now, here's the only other explanation. Here's the only other explanation, and you've already said it on this segment. Maybe that's what the Eagles are good with.
Yes. No. They're grooming him to look like this.
Maybe they're perfectly fine with him being this CEO coach, and he'll say what Howie and Jeff want him to say at the pressers, and he'll butter everybody up and do all those things. Not my style of coach, but unfortunately, I don't own the Philadelphia Eagles. And if I did, we'd probably piss off a lot of people with the way we did it, just like we have here at JAKIB.
Can I do one more thing with you?
Absolutely. I got nowhere to be today. So
okay, I'm going to give you my top 10 NFC teams.
All right, this will be good. I'll do this with you.
Okay, rosters.
Rosters,
because June 11th, we won't know until it's validated.
Yeah. All right. So rosters. Okay, let's do this.
Number 10, dude. I like that Arizona team. I think they got a ton of picks. I think that, you've got some players on that team. I heard that kid Harrison is everything is advertised. And quite frankly, too, the NFC's not deep. So this is why I went Arizona, because who would you put in there instead? Minnesota? Maybe?
See, I haven't done my list yet, so it's hard for me to work backwards on it because I have to see who I would eliminate. But I don't want to jump it because where do you have the Falcons?
7.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure they were in your top 10. You have the Bears in your top 10?
I debated on Arizona or the Bears.
You have the Saints in your top 10?
Yes, 9.
You have the Seahawks in your top 10?
6.
Bucks?
8.
Okay, so you're about where I am. So
I got the Rams 5. I got the Rams 5
because I can make a top 5 right now. It's harder for me to go to 10 because I don't have the list. I didn't make a list.
Okay, well, make your list up and I'll read mine to everyone.
Okay, go ahead.
I got number 1. I got best rosters in the NFC. I got the 49ers. I've got number 2, Detroit. Number 3, Green Bay.
Oh, come on.
Number 4, Philly. Number 5, the Rams. Number 6, Seattle. Number 7, Atlanta. Number 8, the Bucks. Number 9, New Orleans. And number 10, either Arizona or Chicago or Minnesota. You could talk me into any one of those 3. But at the end of the day, when you look at it, Chicago, Minnesota, Arizona, not great rosters, but the NFC's not loaded. New Orleans has got a pretty good roster.
Minnesota, right? Aren't they? They're not as bad as I think you have.
No,
them.
I just think it's the quarterback that I want to see.
Me too. I'm not sold on the guy they drafted either. I didn't love him. JJ McCarthy.
Dude, 300 times. They won a ball game not throwing a football in the second half against Penn State.
Not my cup of tea. Would not have went with him as the quarterback of that team.
Let me hear your top 10.
So mine's pretty close to yours, to be honest. Let me start with 1. I have 49ers. I have the Eagles at 2, Detroit at 3, Green Bay at 4. I think LA at 5 is appropriate. They're actually being slept on, Dan. You're not hearing much about them right now in the offseason. I think they've done some good things. They have the best coach in the NFC. I think they're going to be a pretty solid team this year. They got a good running game. They got good receivers now. Offensive line they added some additions on the offensive line. They're a sleeper team.
They lose that'll be something. But that kid they got from Wake Forest last year, who turned in 9 sacks last year, is a pretty good-looking ball player, but he did play next to Donald. But I like the Rams, too. They got the Andy Reid of the NFC in play calling.
Yeah, I'm going to go – I can't go with you at Seattle at 6. You know what, Dan? I tried –
receivers that compare to yours, too.
Yeah,
and they got a running back.
I tried so hard last year for me to like Geno Smith and give him the benefit of the doubt. And
I know.
I thought, man, like when he was putting together that string of games, and I'm like, dang, Geno is going to be it, And I'm proud of him. It's cool to watch a guy turn his career around. I think that's all. That's like why we like sports, right? I just don't like. I don't know. Last year I watched every game, and I'm like, I don't see it anymore. So I'm going to put them down at 9. But I have ATL at 6, New Orleans at 7. Their defense is slept on as well. That New Orleans defense is really good.
Agreed.
Really good.
And they added Chase Young to that too, by the way.
Yep. And then I'll have Bucks, Seattle, Chicago. I'm going to bump Arizona. I'm not ready to go there with Arizona yet. I'm also not really a Kyler Murray guy too much.
He did hand the Eagles a loss.
Had to remind me of that one, right?
Hey, but then again, he handed Dallas a loss.
Yeah. Jonathan Gannon, baby.
Jonathan Gannon. Hey, the two coaches.
Hey, can we ask the fans a question? The people in the chat. Do you guys still hate Jonathan Gannon? Like, everybody hated him when we lost. It's easy to hate him when you lose a Super Bowl. We had one of the best passing defenses in the league that year. We had 70 sacks that year. We went to a Super Bowl that year. Now, granted, we lost the Super Bowl and everyone's blaming him.
Number 1 in pass defense?
Bro, we lost to Patrick Mahomes. Like, there's not a coordinator out there who can stop that guy.
Hey, would you guys play number 1 or number 2 in pass defense?
Yes, 1. I believe we were number 1.
I thought you were number 1. You went from number 1 to 31st.
See, they all still hate him. Everybody still hates him.
They hate him. You know what? They hate it because he was house hunting during the Super Bowl. And when you saw the house he got, the $10 million home in Scottsdale, I've been to Scottsdale when my kid was going to college, and you're like, holy shit, this guy bought a mansion on Eagle money. So, yeah, Xander and all of you guys, all you season ticket holders, you bought Jonathan Gannon his brand new house out in Arizona in Scottsdale during the Super Bowl.
I don't like the shtick he put on. Like, it felt so fake to me after the fact. Remember when there was rumors of him leaving, and then he's coming back, and he's like, I'm not going anywhere, and he's chanting from his G-Wagon, going, we're going to cut these guys. I'm like, all right, it was cool in the moment. Then you leave, and it's like, all right, was that all fake? It was all fake. You know what? But hey, look, he had a good defense here in Philly. He really did. Got to give the guy credit. He had good defense here in Philly. So, but
right,
I think it's
one
funny.
Last question: do you think? Okay, so the Eagles have to have the number 1 ranked offense in the National Football League this year, correct? They can't be 8th.
I don't think they need to be number 1. They got to be top 5.
You're paying $180 million for this thing.
Yeah, you need to be top 5.
Top 5.
Why do they need to be 1?
Brian Johnson was top 8.
Yeah. Why do they need to be 1 though? If they're 2, you're going to declare it a fail.
Yeah, I like Xander's attitude, so I'm going to go on to a car lot and go, hey, give me the 3rd best Jag.
That's not the philosophy.
Give me the 4th best Jag. I'm good with it.
No, if I have a new car and one of them has every option and one of them is missing one option, but I'm getting a way better deal and it gets the job done, I'll do it. I think they can get the job done with a top 5 offense.
Hey, is this the most expensive Bugatti you got on the lot? Yeah, he goes.
Oh, Sean Mims, that's correct. He corrected you. That's right. Murray was out that game. That was Josh Dobbs, Tennessee grad.
Josh Dobbs and the greatness of Jonathan Gannon won that.
Yeah.
Hey, did Josh Dobbs win that game? And also, did he win a game in Cleveland when he beat, or no, that was the kid from,
Josh Dobbs has been kind of a journeyman. He's like winning some games all over the place.
That's some kid from Temple, I think. I think that's the kid from Temple that won that. Xander, absolutely great stuff. Merrill Reese will join us at 5:30. Where are we, by the way, in the like list right now?
Let me check it out. 135. So pretty good stuff so far by the people in the chat. It was pretty good. They always give us good stuff. So we
absolutely.
Thank
you guys are fantastic. We appreciate it. Please hit the like. And also, don't forget, join. You can watch Farzi in the morning. They kick off our broadcast here on JAKIB. And then, of course, really a great show. Probably the best morning show that you can watch. Hey, I love Anthony, but this guy right here with that show, those guys, if you think it's a downtime, go over there to that thing, and I'll show you a downtime.
All right, enough glazing.
Watch our guy here with John McMullen. I like John McMullen too. Silio's crazy. That's not it.
He did chirp at you today. I loved it.
I loved it too, man. You tell John all good, man. He's a really great reporter for us. We're proud to have him here. Xander, great stuff. Appreciate it. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Valle Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Sills National Football Show. Our friend Merrill Reese will join us at 5:30 Eastern Time. Yeah, you know, Xander's right. We have to have that as a merit badge, that the Eagles are so concerned with what you guys are saying. Or, no, maybe it's what we're saying, but how you're reacting. is that some of the things we say and we point out to you, you hadn't thought about because you've been told this bullshit for I don't know how many years. That wasn't true ever since Jeffrey Lurie's owned that team. Now, they've gone through some dynamics and changing of the guard in their front office and how they do business. But at the end of the day, this is a centric front office, and they win games from the owner's box, not by the coaches on the sidelines. That's what made that thing so incredibly difficult for them to take. Get this. How in the world do you call Doug Peterson on a Monday or Tuesday to answer for something that he went against analytics when in a Super Bowl, he agrees to Philly? Let me ask you something here. Let me ask you this. Doug Peterson, if that play hadn't, I wonder, think about this. Doug Peterson calling that play, if it wasn't the Super Bowl, he'd have been called in the office and asked why you went with that instead of the analytics that we gave you to win a football game. And that would have been contradicting to the intel that they get on a weekly basis on how to build a game plan. Frank Reich told you this. The Eagles front office analytics team gives the head coach and the coaching staff all the intel that they believe it'll take to win that game. Based on their numbers is the game plan that you're to build. That's why they control the roster on who plays and who doesn't. Doug wasn't going to do that. How he plays that game. And that's why Sirianni keeps his job, losing a Super Bowl, and Doug loses his, winning a Super Bowl. It's plain and simple. They would rather have Nick than Doug. You understand this now. And this is what has been a very tough sell for many of you, for me to have to try to convince you of that. That since I've been covering your team, it has been very clear to me the coaches have no say at all. Have no say. Okay? But that's not what they're asked to do. And so when I point that out, hey, you want to hear? I'll give you a little bit of insight. Here's what the Eagles had a problem with me on. Just one small problem. I called Howie Roseman a glorified public accountant. And they used the phrases anti-Semitism. My aunt is a pseudo CPA. She's Italian. They were trying to make an issue out of me calling him a glorified CPA. And they called my bosses and said that the owner and the general manager thought it was anti-Semitic. We were like, what? So, you know that stuff that you guys read on the internet about me? There's a prime example of how people make things up and lie about me. And that's what's carried over to this show. And you. That's truth. That's truth. We were like, what? We were very confused. But they lied. I mean, Sills, did you know how he makes game day decisions on who's going to take the field on Sundays? Ridiculous. I heard that stuff went on during Doug. Okay? Sills, welcome to Woke BS Philly. Specializes in it. Lurie's suddenly selling shares in the Eagles now. I don't. He's not selling controlling shares, though. He's not selling controlling shares. Sills, they're lying about all conservatives. Or, no, I would say this, my friends. They lie about people who stand up for themselves. So you got to remember something. That PR department knows me from San Francisco, too. because they worked out in San Francisco when I was out there at KMBR 68 and the ticket 1050. And what they couldn't stand was that me and Ed DeBartolo were dear friends. And Al Davis was one of my closest friends. And I didn't have to go to the PR people. I just went to the owners. I went to Mr. DeBartolo and I went to Al Davis, who hired me. Let's see. Minority shares are still shares. Oh, yeah, depending on who the guy is, it brings more intel in. Sales, would you play AJ in the slot? Yeah, we brought that up a little bit. Okay, we have. We've kind of brought that up. We're hoping that they move him around a little bit. You know, we brought that topic up with Xander. I'm going to get into week 9 with the Jaguars here in a minute. And Nick losing the locker room. Don't you think you've lost the locker room and you've lost the quarterback? How come we don't see headlines of that? Xander was right to open his show, Birds 365 today, with that important topic that should carry going into September. The coach has lost the quarterback. Am I wrong? The coach has lost the quarterback. How do you run a team when the two, like Xander said too, you got Nick talking about coaching D tackles and corners and linebackers and are giving advice, and you're like, he's like searching for something or some chair to land in. I think that, hey, by the way, if they get out and it's 1-1 even out of the gate, say they lose to the Packers, they win the next week against Atlanta, and they're 1-1, there's going to be holy shit at 1-1. Yell asks a good question. Does it matter if the head coach and the quarterback hate one another? Well, let's take a look at that. I think it's how it's managed. I'm not saying that Tom Brady and Bill Belichick were best of friends, but in my opinion, the man who was able to manage Bill Belichick was Tom Brady. I think it's the way he managed him. He managed him like he managed everybody in his locker room. But see, again, Yale goes Moore and Stoutland. Well, you're undermining the guy who's supposed to be the head coach in the building. It's the same thing the Cowboys have in Dallas because Jerry Jones undermines the head coach's authority. This is about authority in the locker room. And that's why Marcus Hayes says that Nick Sirianni, he embraces he embraces a culture where you have people that are insubordinate. Doesn't matter what Nick says. Shit, even the players acknowledge that. That's not what happened. We ran a play that we wanted to run. Nick was talking about pass interference. Wasn't true. I mean, even the players couldn't back. Hey, even the guys couldn't back him. Yeah, we were hoping for PI, but we couldn't. No, that's not what happened. We ran a different play. It's kind of crazy. That's one thing I miss about Andy. He always had a good relationship with the quarterback, no matter how much he bitched at him, too. Owner GM shouldn't be part of game day operations. Head coach should be our authority. Twiz, this is one of the reasons why I tell you you're this close. If you just acted like Bob Kraft, you'd win more Super Bowls. I'm convinced of it. Let the coaches do their job. You don't even know if Nick's a good coach or not. Yeah, I mean, you have no idea if Nick's a good coach. How do you know? Get too many voices in the building. Maybe that's it. You get too many roosters in the hen house. How about one? Hey, let me say this to you. Do you think there's really one clear voice in the locker room? Here, let's do this. Go around the league. There's one clear voice in that KC locker room. I think there's one clear voice in how the operation is run in Los Angeles with the Rams. I guarantee you there is one voice now with the Chargers, and that's Jim Harbaugh. And Jim Harbaugh just got back into the league being a decade out of it, and he already has complete autonomy in that building, and nothing is getting across his desk without him knowing it. Nothing. You're not sliding shit by him. Coaches being interviewed, potential free agents. He knows the pulse of everything. Every single thing is going to come down his way and how he sees it. Yale goes, I have to see how it plays out. You saw how it played out. They were 1-6. You've already seen that movie. It's going to be different now because Kellen Moore's in the building? No way. No way. No way. Brand new offense that Kellen has to call that he's never called. I want to see that too. That's why Belichick is on the shelf right now. That's not true. Belichick is on the shelf right now because he wants complete control and $20 million a year. So if you don't give it to him, he's going to make the next 2 years $20 million annually from the New England Patriots. Why in the world would I surrender anything else to anyone else making less money and less control? Bill Belichick gets to pick his gig. You're not going to hire Bill Belichick for anything less than that for the next 2 years. Or he'll take his $40 million and roll into retirement. Plain and simple. He doesn't have to take a $6 million a year job like Raheem Morris with no power took. Raheem has no power in Atlanta, and he makes $6 million. Belichick's at home in New England playing golf, making $40 million a year. Eagles have a good team culture? I don't buy that because that wasn't on display last year. What happened to it? It evaporated. Why? Because of the coaches? Where's the player accountability in that, Yale? Oh, I see. BG can come after the fact and tell us how bad everyone sucked but him and them. Okay. I hate that. You're in it together, man. You're in this together. Those players have to dig themselves out of this. That's why I started this out by doing this. That job is not a great job unless you understand the parameters of it. And maybe the reason that Nick kept his job is what Xander and I were talking about. Hey, the job description is to give all the praise. There's not a press conference that Nick Sirianni doesn't have that he doesn't mention Howie at least 5 times. He makes a point of that. He makes a point of mentioning the owner, and he makes a point. Next time you listen to him and he's in front of a mic, make sure you count how many times he brings up surely the GM and then the owner of the team. I never hear Mike Tomlin ever talk about the general manager of the Steelers. I never hear Sean McVay ever talk about shit. I don't even hear Andy Reid talking about Brett Veach, who does a sensational job. What's the record? 1-3. I heard Xander and John McMullen talking about winning. It's a great conversation. What's winning to you? What does winning mean to you? Are the Eagles a winning organization? Yes. The Eagles are not a championship organization by any stretch of the imagination. But they're a winning organization. And you've compromised that. The Steelers have become a winning organization instead of a championship organization. They're not striving for championships in Pittsburgh anymore. Doesn't seem it. It's winning. It's a winning organization. Yes. Because I heard the guys talking about if you're going to be, get this, if you're, here's John McMullen. if you're going to be gauging how you look at franchises by winning Super Bowls, you're going to be a miserable dude. Well, you think Tom Brady is not a miserable guy? The only thing he ever brings up is Nick Foles and Eli. He don't talk about the wins. He talks about the losses. Here's another one. Think Tiger looks like he's not a miserable human? Let's see. Jordan. You think Jordan's not a miserable guy? Jordan's a miserable guy. All those alpha guys are not champ. They already know that they're winners. Winners and championships and champions are two different people. Okay? Winning and champions. Yes. If you're comfortable with being a winner, congratulations to you. That's okay. I know a lot of people who strive to be in the Pinstripe Bowl. I strive to be in a national championship game. But hey, certain people have different standards. But that's okay. I told you this a long time ago. I got a card that Andy Robustelli gave me, NFL Hall of Famer, that Lombardi wrote him when he was the assistant coach and offensive coach in New York. We are going to strive for perfection, knowing full well we'll never reach it. And in the process, we're going to learn to live with greatness. Whatever you're striving for, most of the time you're going to land on. And if you're striving to be a winner, that's exactly where the Eagles have landed, being winners. The Eagles are not striving to be champions. You're not. You don't have a championship style mentality of getting out of the way and letting people do their jobs. Got to give Bob Kraft a lot of credit for this. You know what that is? He never got in the way unless there was a problem. Deflategate, Spygate, Garoppolo, Brady, Belichick. Belichick being let go were the only times he got in the way of football operations. Other than that, Brady won on the field. Belichick put it together. And they had the greatest dynasty in pro football history. Not the best friends, but they learned to deal with one another. And everybody did their job. That's why that wasn't just a comment on a chalkboard. Hey, do your job. That was a mentality in the building. You can't do your job in Philly. Okay? You can't do your job in Philly. Because no matter if you win, you're fired. If you lose, you're fired. There's no consequences to that. It doesn't make sense. Okay? Ryan says, I'm saying this just to fire us up. I hope you strive to be, hey, Ryan, if you strive to be a winner, there's nothing wrong with that. Certain people strive to be champions. And most champions are miserable. They're not happy. That's why LeBron's 4-6. Those guys are not happy guys. They're miserable humans. Most champions are miserable. Most teams and most people that are that guy are miserable. Miserable humans. Does Belichick look like a happy guy to you? I couldn't play for that guy. It doesn't look like a lot of fun. Who said being a champion's fun? Seals, do you think the Eagles are jealous of Andy's championships? That's a great question. I think what Andy has shown is that Andy doesn't need Joe Banner and the way the Eagles do business to win Super Bowls. and that Andy. Now, again, hang on here. Let's also back this up. Does Andy win Super Bowls without Patrick Mahomes? That has to be brought up. If you're bringing that up for Belichick, you have to bring that up for him. Hey, is that guy winning Super Bowls with Alex Smith? I don't think so. Okay? I mean, you think he's winning Super Bowls in Kansas City with Alex Smith? I don't think so. So that has to be brought up. He's got Mahomes. Now, John Dorsey brought Patrick Mahomes to him. So, and Andy had to sign off on it. So that's part of the process too. Hey, dude, remember? They wanted Mitchell Trubisky or Deshaun Watson or some shit. I forget who the guys were that they wanted over Mahomes. There were people. Hey, Shannon Sharp said that Deshaun Watson will win more championships than Patrick Mahomes will. Those were direct quotes from him. Don't you remember that? And was it Chris Carter coming out going, this guy has no intangibles of leadership whatsoever? Patrick Mahomes. They were all wrong. They were all wrong. They were wrong about him. Sills, would you rather play for the Patriots with Brady or Montana's Niners? Montana's Niners. Joe was a better quarterback. I'm Joe Montana bias. Montana was sensational. You know, do you know who the last quarterback to get to an AFC championship game? Not named Mahomes in KC. Do you know what that guy's name is? Do you guys know the name of the last quarterback to take Kansas City to an AFC championship game? Do you guys know? Do you guys know who the last quarterback in Kansas City to lead the Chiefs to the AFC championship game? Alex Smith? No. Steve DeBerg? No. I can't stand Shanahan and Stephen A. Spin has it. Michael has it. Montana. 304, I got you, brother. Joe Montana's the last Chiefs quarterback to lead the Chiefs to the AFC championship game. It was Joe Montana. Montana was sensational. I can't even tell you who the wide receivers were on that team that year. All I know is that guy can win anywhere. And it didn't matter with who. Jerry Rice or no Jerry Rice. It didn't matter. It just didn't matter. Okay. Hey, you want to, yeah, I mean, what's really wild, I vote for the Hall of Fame for college football. I showed you guys my vote. Joe Montana and Tom Brady can never go to the College Football Hall of Fame because they didn't make first team All-American. But they both have national championship rings. And they're the two greatest quarterbacks you can argue in pro football and in football history. And they can't get in the College Football Hall of Fame because of some stupid bylaw trying to change it. Those two guys can't go to the Hall of Fame. But Tony Romo can. All right. Hit the like button. Merrill Reese is going to join us at the bottom of the hour. We'll talk to him, his perspective on what he sees this football team looking like 40 days out from the start of training camp. Xander, where are we on the like list right now, please? I'd like to know where we are as we get ready to go into in this hour with the legendary Merrill Reese, the golden voice of the Philadelphia Eagles. We are at 154. That's really great, guys. 46 to the top of the hour to get to 200 for another great day. Love you guys, man. You guys are killing it. Hey, by the way, I'm really glad that Xander came on here and validated you. Xander validated you and our show. You. The Eagles watch you every day. You know what I heard from Barrett Brooks? They have a guy in their video department watch this show daily and then go back and report over the week what we said. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Valle Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sales National Football Show. Please hit the like button. I heard people say, he's friendly to Merrill. I'm friendly to Merrill because Merrill's the play-by-play man. Do you expect the play-by-play man to come on here and be a talk show host? Or to be a face of you have to know who you're talking to. When I get Craig Carton on, he's a talk show host. That's different. When you're getting a columnist on, like Marcus Hayes, that's different. When you're getting the PR director of the Eagles on, what do you think he's going to say? Be critical of anything, including the smoothie machine? No. What's the point of fighting with someone that they'll never come on again? That makes sense. That's not how you build relationships in this business that I have for over 40 years. Why Tony Dungy comes on, why Jimmy Johnson comes on. Okay? That's why these men come on. because I treat them for who they are, not what I want them to say or who I want them to be. That makes no sense. You already know. Oh, no. Yeah, I'm not ripping you, man. No, I'm not at all. Hey, before I get into the Jaguars in week 9, who you guys will play, Merrill Reese, as advertised, like our friend Yale says, will be on with us at 5:30 this morning. Please hit the like button. You guys are killing it here. What about Philly 500? He and I go back and forth. I actually like the guy. I do. I actually like him. So, you see what the 49ers did? 49ers offered Brandon Ayuk $26 million per year. They look at him like Devontae Smith. You know what he said? Pound sand. No, thank you. Brandon Ayuk is looking for something in the 30s. Brandon Ayuk on the 49ers is $26 million. Brandon Ayuk anywhere else in the league is Juju Smith-Schuster. Do you think that guy's capable of being a number 1 somewhere? I do not. I think he's a great 2. Devontae is a 1 playing a 2. There's a difference between the Brandon Ayuk and Devontae Smith are not the same player. Not the same player. That's a 2. You remember when Juju Smith-Schuster was on the team and Antonio Brown was with the Steelers? Remember that dynamic? Oh, we have Juju Smith-Schuster. If Antonio Brown wants to leave and they throw him off the team, we got Juju Smith-Schuster. That guy got tossed into that number 1 role, and he bombed miserably. He bombed miserably. The difference is Smitty is a 1, but he has adapted his game to playing the number 2 role. It's a character thing. Devontae Smith has got to be, if you're going to draft, let me say this to you. If you're Josh Allen or you're Joe Burrow or you're Patrick Mahomes, Stroud, Herbert, you want to play with 1 wide receiver in the NFL. You want to play with Devontae Smith. Because that's not a numbers guy. Financially or statistically. It is the only wide receiver. Well, no, Cooper Kupp, I think, is a little like that. Cooper Kupp is a little like that. Those are the guys you want to play with. Why? Nobody's talking money. Always talking about putting wins together. How far can we go together? How will this look for the rest of the group? Hey, is everyone else? And how are we spreading the ball around? Okay? I mean, when you're elite quarterbacks like Josh Allen and Joe Burrow, you want to play with guys like that. Those kind of guys help you get to the game that you need to get to the most, not just filling up stat sheets. Okay? Absolutely. Brandon Ayuk, anywhere else? Us. You send Brandon Ayuk to, let me throw this in there. Who's the number 2 guy next to DK Metcalf in Seattle? What's that guy's name? What's the number 2 guy up there in Seattle's name? What's the guy's name that's on the other side of DK? I forget his name. Lockett. That's it. Lockett. Lockett anywhere else? Dude, he's a 2. Devontae's not a Lockett or a Brandon Ayuk. He's better than those guys. Okay? He's better than them. My opinion. All right. Let's take a look before we get Merrill on here. Week 9 opponent will be an old friend, Doug Peterson and his Jacksonville Jaguars. What do you think this Jaguar team looks like in 2024? Playoff team? Here's what Doug has done. In his 2 years in Jacksonville, 18-16, they're 1-1 in the playoffs. They've won a division title. They didn't make the playoffs last year, and they're in a very tough division, in my opinion. Doug's record postseason-wise now runs to 5-3 between the Eagles and the Jaguars. Doug's record in the postseason with a Super Bowl championship, he's now 5-3. He's one of my favorite head coaches. So I'm biased there. But I will tell you this. The greatest hire that this offseason had was Ryan Nielsen. He's the best hire of any position coach in the National Football League. This new defensive coordinator that they've brought to Jacksonville. He's the best and will be a candidate to be a head football coach. He's the next guy. This guy is a great coordinator. His accolades speak for themselves. His reputation speaks to it. There's not a coach in the National Football League that didn't covet this guy and wanting him as a defensive coordinator. And this guy's got a bunch of talent around him. And now, if they can make that defense a top 5 defense, the Jags could be scary with Ryan Nielsen as the defensive coordinator. He is a great prospect for head coach and also a top flight defensive coordinator. I mean, it's an elite hire. It's an elite hire. 4th season for Trevor Lawrence. It's got to be now, son. Tired of waiting for you. Tired of waiting for you. Let's go. Can't be injured. You know, one of the reasons, like Tua said, hey, that stretch run down the line for the Jags, the quarterback was in and out of the lineup. Got to be healthy, man. You've got to be healthy, especially in a packed AFC. You've got to be healthy. And you've got to start performing. Your 4th year. Let's go. It's time. Don't let me have to go get Jake Browning. I think they have a top 10 offense on paper and a top 10 defense on paper. But on June 11th, the stuff's got to come to fruition. You got a bunch of stars on offense and a bunch of good-looking talent on offense. From the quarterback to the receivers to the guys in the offensive line. Your defense has now been stacked with the multiple first-rounders that you've put in there. It's time to coach and play and win. I get it. It's Jacksonville. And I do believe that Urban Meyer mess was more difficult to dig out of than what people thought it was. Okay? I think that was more of a mess for them to clean up than what people are saying. I'll say this to you. With Lawrence, one more thing with him. It was just uneven play. You're here, you're here, you're here, you're here, you're here. At least with the Eagles, it went like this. Bang. It just went like this. It had a high, and it had just as high as your 10-1 was as low as your 1-7 was. But there was none of these bumpy rides like this. Here's the 9-8 Jags of a year ago. It just went like this every week. You didn't know what you were getting. It was all over the place. Just uneven. I mean, Trent Baalke's the GM. He was a train wreck with Harbaugh in San Francisco. I don't get it. I mean, Doug seems to like him. Now, his role is defined differently. His role is defined differently in Jacksonville. Doug's the show here. This is Doug's show. Okay? Doug is running this. This is his deal. Now, in a division where you've got, now here, let's do this. You think they're better than Indianapolis and Houston? So let me get this right. So Trevor Lawrence, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson. These guys are all going to be competing against one another. What's the other team in that division too? Dude, I mean, Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud, and Trevor Lawrence are in that division. Shit. Between that and the North, dude, that is a tough-ass division. The Titans, well, they don't have a real big-time quarterback. But take a look at the North. You got the Steelers, you got the Ravens, you got the Bengals, and you got the Browns. All four of those teams can make the postseason. I think that could be the first time every team in a division can make the postseason. It could happen in the North this year. And that South is pretty talented. I don't know what the Titans are going to look like this year, but you got Richardson, Lawrence, and Stroud in there. Boy, that's going to be something. If Stroud continues to go on his projection and Lawrence can get up to where he needs to, and you got Richardson, if he can stay healthy and keep that thing going, that could be something to keep an eye on. And you're talking about even more talent at the quarterback position in the AFC. Just think about this. What's a better quarterback division? Anthony Richardson, Trevor Lawrence, CJ Stroud, or Hurts, Dak, Daniel Jones, and maybe Jalen Daniels? Or how about the NFC South? Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield, Kirk Cousins, and Bryce Young. I mean, and those are the lesser divisions besides the North. Look at the North. You got Deshaun Watson, Joe Burrow, Russell Wilson. I mean, and Lamar Jackson. Try getting through that thing. Shit, winning the AFC North might be tougher than winning the NFC. So the Jags, they got to get great coaching and great quarterback play. They do. You know, I know this. I know this for a fact. My friend, Merrill Reese, is a big fan of what Doug Peterson is. And I think Doug in week 9, because we're looking at that now. And, I mean, he's 18-16 in 2 years down there. He's 1-1 in the postseason. He's 5-3, obviously winning the Super Bowl in Philly. And he's just turned around. I think it's a bigger mess than what people thought. But, I mean, we bring Merrill on with us now. And Merrill's always going to say great things about Doug Peterson. He's one of my favorite coaches. And I think he's done a marvelous job down there, Merrill, down in Jacksonville. And the big thing is going to be, we're in year 4 now with Trevor. The kid's got to win. But if you got one guy that can make that thing happen, it's got to be Doug Peterson.
Well, he is. He's a great coach. There's no question about it. He's a player's coach. He's somebody who puts together a very meticulous practice schedule. He's a great coach with a quarterback. I think they will have success. I'm not as informed about their entire roster as you are, but right now, I just, based on what I saw last year and what I've seen them add, I just can't imagine that Trevor Lawrence won't continue to progress and be the kind of quarterback he was anticipated to be when he was the first player taken in the draft.
You know, Merrill, I did thumbs up, thumbs down, and I'm going to do a thumbs up with you here with the guys in this offseason here. And I think for you, somebody that has to be refreshing to hear, and you're hearing about so many of the young players. Now, again, people will say it's helmets and shorts, but people don't understand 7-on-7 and 9-on-7. You're going to get the same physicality. Look at what happened up in Detroit. They got fined because they were too physical. Now, when you install the run game in the fall here in July, obviously that adds another dynamic, and of course that makes it different. However, the stuff we're hearing about Keely Ringo, I mean, has to be a lot of good things coming to many people's ears because you didn't know what this guy has. And I've been informed he was 20 years old, Merrill. When you drafted him a year ago, here's a kid who could be one of those late bloomers.
He's very good. He's very, very talented. You know, last year they went into the season you didn't know, and it turned out they were deficient in the secondary last year. This year they're going to have a lot of talented players, young and seasoned, fighting for starting spots.
How about Isaiah Rodgers in the comments that you're hearing people say about what he's bringing, where they're playing him potentially a nickel slot? I'm making a prediction here, Merrill, that I think he's going to be one of the starting corners in September against the Packers. That guy has opened so many people's eyes, and Vic really loves the guy. That's got to be, again, another guy that here's a move that Howie Roseman made.
Well, it's another good move, but right now, Dan, I was out there obviously last week at the practice sessions, at the mini camp, and the OTAs earlier. I don't take a lot away from performances during these drills because there's a lot of mistakes being made because guys are going through the learning process. They're installing things. There are new players. A lot of things are happening. And Isaiah Rodgers has made, he took advantage of some mistakes. But again, it's a different story when you get deep into the training camp days and the serious faces. Not that they're not serious now, but the real serious mission begins. That's when I want to see it. I want to see it not just through the preseason, because goodness knows how many regulars we're going to see in the preseason. We see so few. But once the season begins, once it's off to Brazil and the Green Bay Packers, that's when you're going to learn who's for real and who has several steps to take to become a solid NFL performer.
You know, I will ask you a question, Merrill, and I want you to help me on this because you're around Jalen, you talk to him, and you talk to Nick, and you know that dynamic. And last week in a press conference, he was teed up like T-ball and asked a question about what Nick Sirianni's role was. And a lot of people, IP and everyone, have been reporting on it. Is it just his nature not to go overboard with anybody, positive or negative? Because when asked the question, what's Nick's role? He goes, I don't really know. I don't know. You'll have to ask him. I don't know what his role is here. Now, I paraphrased it a little bit. Is that troublesome? Or for you, is that just, again, the kid's demeanor and how he acts and how he answers every question?
You know, Dan, I have a very good relationship with Jalen. And we do talk, and I find him just a terrific young guy. He's very, very bright. He weighs his words. He's not a talker. He's not the spokesperson for the team. He's more animated around his teammates in the locker room than what you see on the field. But he's careful. I don't take that to mean anything. I really don't. I just think he's not committing anything. He doesn't want to take away from. It's not up to him to define the role of his head coach and the role of his offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, start to talk about what percentage is Kellen Moore's offense and what percentage. I mean, he said something about 95% of the things they were doing were new. Well, sure they were, because when the training camp begins and they start really installing and putting together the offense for the season, then you're going to see other things implemented. And it's probably not going to be 95% or anything like that, but we'll see.
How about this one? To expand on that a little bit, he was asked a question, I think by Franks, when he was like, he goes, well, are you liking the offense? He goes, it's too early to tell right now. And like you said, you were out there. So again, they may be installing all the new stuff. You know, the run game has not been installed. So maybe this is one of the reasons also some of the guys on defense excelled, because these guys are working through. Now, as you know, Merrill, I try to tell people the offensive playbook in the NFL looks like something from NASA. It's here. And the playbook for a defensive guy is down here. There's a lot of stuff to it to retain when you're putting and installing a new offense.
But if you want a quarterback to stand up and say in June, or last week was still May, wow, this is one of the greatest offenses I've ever been around in my life. Or, wow, this offense is going to outscore the Dan Coryell San Diego Chargers. It's May. It's May. And you're not going to get Jalen to be crazy about anything right now. He's going to give you quiet answers. He's going to give you a few words, and he's going to get out of the room and move on to his next order of business. He's an awfully good guy. He is a very smart guy. He's a dedicated guy, a studious guy, tremendous athlete, wonderful quarterback, and a great teammate. That's all I can tell you about Jalen Hurts. But he's not a spokesperson for the offense or for the team.
Do you think it's just media noise then that you're hearing about this so-called friction a little bit between the coach and the quarterback?
Well, I don't want to criticize the media because I think there are a lot of really hardworking, intelligent, well-informed members of the Eagles media. An awful lot. It's a good, solid media. But their job is to pick apart statements, to create interest, to say, oh, did he say that? And that becomes the headline. It's you look for angles, but it's tough to find legitimate angles in May or June. Let's wait till there are 3 games into the season to see where this team is. However, that's their job. And I'm not dismissing it, but they're looking for what they can jump on that may make people read that story.
What's your takeaway on Vic Fangio's impact so far that he's had on that side of the football, in your opinion?
His impact has got to be very, very important because he's a guy who knows as much about defense as anybody. But you're talking about a guy who's not going to brag. It's not Buddy Ryan who's coming into a defense and saying you've got a winner in town, or this is about the biggest team. I remember when Buddy first came in and they said to him, how long is it going to take you to install your 46 defense? And Buddy said, about 5 minutes. You're not going to get that out of Vic. Vic is a low-key guy. He's a very warm guy. The players like him a lot. They feel comfortable with him. He shows them respect. I think he's going to be terrific. And I think Kellen Moore is going to be terrific. I think he's one of the bright young coaches. I think, and I'm not trying to start anything, but I think within a short period of time, he's going to be somebody's head coach.
2 last questions here for you. I got to throw this at you here that, boy, I heard Micaiah Becton say something, and it just resonated. I think he's going to be the greatest free agent sign of any football team.
Really?
Any football team. And I'll tell you why. Phil Simms came on my program and said, he's healthy. He's like Jason Peters, that kind of strength. Okay. Then I had Brian Baldinger on, and Brian Baldinger goes, let me tell you this, Dan, that guy's moving his feet. And if he buys into things, good night. He was at the press conference and someone asked him, hey, what do you make about playing guard? He goes,
yeah,
whatever Jeff Stoutland wanted me to do, I'm going to do. He goes, were you open like that in New York? He goes, they didn't have Jeff Stoutland in New York. And I thought that, and he goes, someone asked him, he goes, yeah, I want this to be a long-term thing. I love the Philly fans. I want to be here. And this is a place that I want. He could have went to 95 places, Merrill, and been a starting offensive lineman anywhere in the league. But he chose to come here and be a backup. The only open is right guard maybe, and Steen's been killing it. So I'm like, I mean, that had to be really something great to hear. A guy wanted to play in Philly, not just for the Eagles, but he wanted to play for Jeff Stoutland.
Yeah, that's nice to hear. There's no doubt about his talents, but and I'm not being negative on Beckman because I think he is a great physical specimen. But again, if I may quote James David Ryan, durability is as important as ability, and that is the one thing so far that he hasn't been as durable. Is that unfair?
No. It's part of the evaluation when you're talking about a player. If he's not available and he's in the tub, I don't care what kind of potential you have, because you and I know this, right, Merrill? Potential is a word that's basically code for he hasn't done it.
He hasn't done it yet.
That's right. Finally, I'm going to take Jalen Hurts out of this conversation here, and I'm going to tell you who my prediction is to be the most valuable player offensively this year. And I'd be curious to hear yours here just off the top. It's only June 11th. Somebody who you think might be the star on that offense this coming year in 24. Not named Jalen.
Well, I think you want me to say Saquon Barkley.
Okay. Go ahead. No, it's somebody else.
I think he's going to be very, very good. I think he's going to be a big factor. If you want me to tell you who it is, it's one of the people. A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith. They are both absolutely out of this world. Both of them. They're great. One of those two.
Here's my guy. I think he's going to be Cam Jurgens. And I think he is going to take over for a man who's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think the skill set wise is not going to be as drastic as people think that drop off is going to be. The only thing is going to be the cerebral part of it, because obviously you got a guy who's a 12, 13-year veteran who knows blitzes, who knows how to set fronts. That's still going to be a learning curve. But when I hear Jeff Stoutland say, hey, I kind of question whether or not he's going to be a guard. He was an alternate Pro Bowler. Now he's going over to center. He goes, that guy's a center. That guy looks like a center. To me, your two positions are the most important positions to a quarterback, are left tackle and center. If that guy plays anything near Jason Kelsey's ability of a year ago, the Philadelphia Eagles have the best offensive line in pro football.
Oh, they do.
And it's going to come down. It's going to come down to that, in my opinion, on what that guy does on blitz pickup, because the Eagles struggled a little bit on blitzing, especially with Jalen in the middle there at the end of the season. If he's in that room, I really like what Jeff Stoutland says about Cam Jurgens.
Well, just remember one thing. 2 years ago when they picked him, it was Howie, it was the scouting department, it was the coaching staff, and it was Jason Kelsey who watched the tape, who sat down and practically handpicked his successor. Jason weighed in heavily on that, and he agrees.
Boy, I just, when you're hearing Jason Kelsey and Jeff Stoutland talking about your replacement like that, usually you're like this, as you know, Merrill, these guys are meat. Until you prove it, you're meat in the building when it comes to a 53-man roster. When you're hearing guys make those comments, and you got Landon Dickerson, Jordan Mailata, and I mean, you got Lane Johnson on that team, and those guys are all going, this guy's insane great. I think that's really great. A lot of good things to look forward to. Are you looking forward to Brazil?
Who knows what to expect?
I hear they got some pretty good golf courses down there, though.
I don't think we'll leave the hotel.
At least not wearing green. Hey, and by the way, only thing I can tell you is I really got to hand it to the NFL. They come out with this, you can't wear green. One of the teams is named the Green Bay Packers, and the Eagles and the Packers both have green in their uniforms. Pretty smart work there. I mean, you got to always hand it to the NFL, being oblivious to things that don't matter.
Well, this is a great organization that does a lot of things for a lot of people, and they just had a wonderful golf tournament at Marion yesterday to raise money for autism, which is their biggest charity. And it was just absolutely wonderful. But I knew that none of us were going to win when one of the guests was Graham McDowell.
Wow, is he good? Holy cow. I'm always jealous when I hear, because I heard Nicholas the other day at Memorial talking about Marion, and I'm going, yeah, there's old Merrill Reese out there shooting his age.
But
no, I was going to be more 66.
I'll put up a Bill Berge number.
Absolutely. Merrill, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, Dan. Have a great day.
You bet. The legendary voice of the Philadelphia Eagles, our friend, Merrill Reese. Yes, sir. Good stuff there, man. Guys, hit the like button. All right, do me a favor here. Xander, where are we in the like total? We were at 154 with the last ask. We are at 177. All right, guys, we are 23 away. Need your help. Let's make a sprint run. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Valle Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sales National Football Show. We did that really early in the program. Favorites to win the Most Valuable Player Award. Hurts at 10, plus 1,800. Brock Purdy, 8th or 9th, plus 1,700. Jordan Love at 8, plus 1,600. Dak and Justin Herbert are tied for 6th at 1,400. Lamar Jackson is 5th at plus 1,200. This is for the MVP. CJ Stroud is fourth, Houston, plus 100. Man, Houston's got a great roster. Burrow's third at plus 900. Josh Allen, second, plus 800. And Patrick Mahomes, plus 600. By the way, I actually wrote down some of these. I'm not hurt. I'm just a fan of football. Don't really care for one certain team. It's just facts over feelings. You haven't won in the salary cap era. 2017, kind of. I think you're talking more about the Niners. You're correct. The Niners have not won a Super Bowl in the Super Bowl era. Eagles have. That's what makes that dynasty the greatest dynasty in pro football history. Because, get this, guys. You know that Steeler team that won 4-6? You're not keeping that team together. Joe Green would be $35 million. Jack Lambert would be $28 million. Mel Blount would be $30 million. LC Greenwood would be 20. Jack Ham would be 25 million. I mean, then you go to the other side. Mike Webster would be 20 million. Franco Harris would be 10, 15 million. Bradshaw would be 55 million. Swan would be 35, 40 million. Stallworth on the other side would be also 30 million. You couldn't keep that team intact. You just couldn't keep it intact. And you kept that team around for 10 years. Even the Cowboy teams of the 90s, you actually really believe you're keeping Aikman, Emmitt Smith, and Troy Aikman and that old line intact if you're in the salary cap era? Never happened. Never happened. Not that old line even. The majority of that offensive line would have all been moved. You couldn't have kept them. You're not keeping Charles Haley, Deion Sanders, and some of the other players, Woodson on that team. No way. Not during the salary cap era. It's the Buccaneer team that won that one Super Bowl. You can't keep that team together. Brooks and Sapp, Chidi Hanatu, Simeon Rice, John Lynch, Rondé Barber, Mike Allstott, Paul Gruber. You're not keeping that team together. You're just not. The only thing that was really cheap on that team, Mark, was Brad Johnson, the quarterback. Brad was not a high-end guy. He was more of a journeyman guy who played in Washington and both in Minnesota. It's a fact. Only today's era, because today's era is about money. If you're not proficient in salary cap, you can't build a team. That's what makes the Eagles the winning franchise. Winning, you heard me say, not championship, but winning franchise that they are. They're a winning franchise because of the way they manage their cap. But they don't build championship rosters. You may think you have a championship roster. You validate it in the fall. And they've only done that one time in 60 years. They validated their roster. You don't get to validate your roster, according to some people, by just winning. Congratulations for doing your job. There we fall on that again. Hey, it's a fine line. Sills, would you rather be, like Xander says, the Carolina Panthers? Well, the Carolina Panthers are a losing organization. I said you're a winning organization. I mean, you strive to be a champion, don't you? Seals, not everybody can. That's why most people that don't win championships are miserable. Most of those people, most CEOs in the world are miserable. Let me say something to you here about Xander, Joe Krauss. They're miserable right now. They're miserable. You know why? They're striving to make JAKIB the best they can. And it's a tough-ass putt. Small victories here or there. It's not enough. So when I hear Xander talking about what he was talking about this morning, I wanted to text him and go, hey, do you apply that to your business? You're okay with being a winner. Small victories. I'm all right with it. Do you? I mean, I know you got to live on them things every now and then, or you drive yourself insanity. I get it. Here are the people in the deserts. Predictions for the Defensive Player of the Year award. Top 10 guys, Eagles have none, obviously. Not yet. There's some potential stars there eventually. Number 10, Chris Jones, Kansas City Chiefs, plus 3,000. Best interior tackle in the sport. Number 8, there's a tie. Janelle Hunter and Josh Allen, Jacksonville Jaguars, plus 25. You want to hear something? I forgot that Hunter is now on that Texans team with Will Anderson, who's 7th, and the 7th favorite to win the Defensive Player of the Year. So you got a Hunter and you got Will Anderson Jr. now on that defense in Houston. Whew. Wow, they're going to be good, dude. They're going to be good. Number 6, you have Aiden Hutchinson, Detroit, plus 1,000. Number 5, Myles Garrett, Cleveland, plus 750. You got a tie at 3rd. Nick Bosa, Niners, and Max Crosby, Raiders, plus 700. And you got a tie at the top. Michael Parsons, plus 550, and TJ Watt, Pittsburgh, plus 550. Those are your elite defensive football players right now that are in line to be the NFL Defensive Player of the Year. Michael Parsons, TJ Watt, Nick Bosa, Max Crosby, Myles Garrett, Aiden Hutchinson, Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, Josh Allen, Jags, edge, Chris Jones, Kansas City, defensive tackle. Those are your 10 best defensive players as we go in 40 days to training camp. So, I mean, I take my 3 and 50 years I'm good with. 3 what, James? Oh, your 3 titles in 50 years? Washington. Hey, James, I hate to do this to you, but let's be candid about the Washington Redskins / Commanders. Under Jack Kent Cook, who was not received and was a guy who traded away the Syracuse running back because he was black, did not have a very good history of race relations, okay, and as an owner. But then again, that was common in the league. But one thing he did do, he hired Bobby Beathard, and he turned around and got Joe Gibbs from Tampa to become the head football coach. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, hey, James, did he become the head football coach after Jack Pardee in Washington? I don't believe it was after George Allen. I don't believe it was after George Allen. I can't remember how that dynamic worked, but Gibb got the job somewhere in there. Joe Bugle was on that coaching staff. They had a shitload of great coaches in Washington on that coaching staff. And with Bobby Beathard and with Joe Gibbs, they put an insane coaching staff together. Just insane. Bugle had the Hogs, and it was just a great franchise. And my opinion, you can make the argument Joe Gibbs is the greatest head football coach of all time because he did it with 3 different quarterbacks with his system. It was all him. If there's a coach that could get the credit and 100% of the credit for building a Super Bowl championship team, it's Joe Gibbs. No other coach gets it because you have to dissect that dynamic. If you remember right, Doug Williams wasn't even a starting quarterback the year. I think Jay Schrader was. The year they won the Super Bowl, I think Schrader was the starting quarterback, Jay Schrader. And he would go on, get hurt, I think, and then Doug came in and would go on and win a Super Bowl. But, Washington had a great organization. And then when Daniel Snyder took over, Daniel Snyder could not run the football operations at all whatsoever and ran that great franchise into the toilet. Even with the ineptness of the ability of Jack Kent Cooke. You know, Jack Kent Cooke owned the Lakers before Dr. Buss owned them. He was the original, well, not original, but he was the owner of the Lakers. He owned the Los Angeles Lakers and sold them in the Great Western Forum to Dr. Jerry Buss. So look at that dynamic. I mean, Josh Harris owns the Sixers and the Devils, right? Well, Jack Kent Cooke owned the Washington Redskins and he owned the Los Angeles Lakers. And Dr. Buss came up with, I think he was a dentist, and he came up with the money and he bought the Great Western Forum first, and then he bought the Lakers from Jack Kent Cooke. So, yeah, it was the owner of the Redskins who was the guy. 2 more likes, guys. Appreciate you guys today, man. Really good. Isn't that crazy? Guy who owned the Lakers was the guy who owned the Redskins. People forget that when they won that championship in 72, 73, Jack Kent Cooke was the owner of the Lakers that won that championship. So Jack Kent Cooke has an NBA championship ring and has 3 Super Bowl championship rings. How's that for you, James? Right? I mean, your owner was the owner of the Lakers. 5 championships. And I'll tell you something about those Niner teams, my friend. Your second team could have beat 85% of the league on how deep they were, because I played against those teams. They were insane great. Their second teams were loaded. It's one of the most loaded. That like the 85, 84, 86 Niners. This was stupid good. It's just insane good. I mean, unbelievable. All right. Where are we in the likes? Where are we in the likes? Thank you, Niner, all day. I appreciate that. Where are we in the likes right now? If it's 199, come on, 200. There we go. 200. Oh, come on, Xander, we get to 200? Do we get to 200? 200, my friends. Absolutely great way to end the program. Want to thank you. Guys are awesome. Hey, by the way, you guys, now you know you're making an impact. Everyone's watching you. No matter what that volume on that side says, everyone's watching you. And we thank you. Bottom of our hearts. We may go back and forth. Big seals may come unglued. But hey, that's my nature. We appreciate it. Big Joe, Xander, don't forget to catch Xander on Birds 365 in the morning at 3:30, also Eastern time, Monday through Friday here with us. We shall see you tomorrow, 2 to 6, and we'll see you on the flip side.